My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. Myself, Bet Sam, and you are going to break down the entire UFC Des Moines fight card, giving you our picks, predictions, bets, and our DraftKings Fantasy Plays. And you heard me right. I said, and you. We're going to run this a little different. Jacob's taking a little bit of time off to relax, enjoy, recover. And what we're going to do is we're going to break down this card, myself and Bet Sam, and you. If you are a premium member, you can call into this show, break down a fight with us, give us your pick, give us your prediction, give us your bet, and let's hear from the audience. But before we dive into the card, let me remind you of a couple of content things going on. Every single Sunday, we have a new show, and next week's card, I'm going to get ahead of it right now. I got a wild week next week. Next week's full card breakdown will not be on the normal Tuesday. It will be on Thursday, the time that we normally do a call-in show. That will be our live full card breakdown. And when you hop on that show, we'll figure out what's going on. But we are waiting till next Thursday because Monday is a mess for me. Tuesday is a mess for me. Wednesday is a mess for me. Thursday, life gets back to normal. So make sure you mark your calendars. You join us Thursday live for the UFC 315 breakdown. I wouldn't normally get ahead of it this far, but considering it's a pay-per-view, I know there's going to be thousands of people wondering where the hell the Tuesday video is. If we take a look back, I mean, I bet Sam's sitting here. I might as well praise his dumbass.
Let's give us some
He
guys.
went off. UFC Kansas City, I had a phenomenal card. Jacob made a couple of bucks, nothing wildly dramatic, but there was some positive bets and some positive ROI for him. And Bet Sam went absolutely bananas. That plus 1,400 prop bet on Jocelyn Edwards, that you must have been feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely pretty excited for it. I started watching the first fight of the night. Jocelyn Edwards came out aggressive. You know, you could see Chelsea Chandler was looking for the quit button as soon as she got hit with that. And so it was beautiful. Even Randy Brown, you know, another beautiful KO also on the slate there, as well as Malcolm Waymaker inside the distance decision, no action. I will say with Malcolm Waymaker, I actually thought that there was going to be a little bit more back and forth. You know, it kind of looked like early on, he was trying to throw some stuff, but it seemed a little forced. Could be the time away, you know, since that Peyton Talbot, he was a little bit too overzealous, even more so than in his previous performances.
Yeah, I just asked you about that one bet, not a full card recap here.
All right. The app session can start later.
No, but you went nuts. You had an 88% ROI. Your slam of the week was nuts. I am actually getting annoyed at that fucking thing because it's basically
7 in a row, baby. 7 in a row.
It's basically my safety parlay. You basically ripped off the concept of the safety parlay, named it something else, and it is very consistent, which kind of annoys me. It doesn't because you're part of the family here, but it does because, you know, fuck other people, right? That's life. But if you do want to check out all of Bet Sam's bets, including his Sam of the week, including my bets that went nuts, not only last week, but I think I'm on a 5-week positive money streak. And Jakey Boy's still doing all the premium stuff. He's just taking a break from the camera, but all the bets, all the picks, all of Jacob's stuff is up on the website right now, ready to go. You can check that out at WeWantPicks.com. And if you do unlock it, you'll not only get this card, UFC Des Moines, you'll get UFC 315, which is next week. You'll get the Gilbert Burns, Michael Morales fight night, and then you will get the Macy Barber and Aaron Blanchfield fight night as well. A full month's worth of picks, bets, tools, and everything else to help you, to ease you into, to guide you during a fight week. Get all of that right now at WeWantPicks.com. It's freaking $10 to unlock every single thing you could possibly imagine, including tools like the tape index. Those of you who like to do your own research, the tape index is the easiest guide. Why spend hours trying to find fight tape, trying to find footage to watch when we have it all laid out ready for you to go? Just go to tools in the menu, click tape index. You'll see every fighter on that card. You'll see their full fight history, and any fight that has a little red button next to it, you click that play button, video pops up, you can watch those fights. It even has canceled bouts, similar experience that you would see elsewhere, but with the fights ready to go. You click the button, they pop up. We also have a DraftKings optimizer. This will build DraftKings fantasy lineups for you. Couple clicks of the button if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, we coded from scratch. We built the industry first beginner mode. It's basically TurboTax, but for a DraftKings optimizer. It'll ask you some high-level questions. You answer those questions like, who's your most confident picks? What underdogs do you like? Is there anybody you absolutely do not want in any lineups at all? You answer a few of those questions, it'll build those lineups for you. It'll be preloaded with the best DraftKings ownership projections on planet Earth. Here's the results from UFC Kansas City. Our margin of error was 3.56%. quite literally the best in the space. And when I say this space, I'm not talking about random bozo with a Patreon. I'm not talking about Jimmy Toughnuts pretending to be cool, telling you to go to his website. I'm talking about Roto Grinders. I'm talking about SaberSim. I'm talking about Awesemo. These giant, massive DFS companies that charge literal hundreds of dollars. We're doing it for 10. Fight Simulator is one of those tools. I mentioned SaberSim. If you're not watching this live, pause this video. Go to the SaberSim website. Find out what they charge a month for their Fight Simulator. Ours does quite literally the exact same thing. What it does is it brings in historical striking stats, historical grappling stats. It simulates fights 100,000 times, and then it gives you those results. Those results can be used to find prop bets. Those results can be used to build DraftKings fantasy lineups. And finally, the data analyzer, an all-encompassing research tool. It's not going to do anything for you, but you can use it to drill down data. You can stack filters. You can do any research you want, including the tape study. And everything that we offer is available inside of an app. Just search We Want Picks in the App Store. Download the app, enable push notifications. Anytime we place a bet, I sent a notification today for a Jacob bet. Jacob put a bet on the board. I immediately push notification. Jacob has added bets to the board. And then all of a sudden, you got that push to your phone. And if you like the bet, you can copy the bet before the line takes off. And last little content plug here. Every Sunday night, I will be live. Myself and Josh Thompson will be live on this channel every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Central to talk about the matchups to make next after the previous event. So this Sunday at 9 p.m. Central, we're going to be talking about the matchups to make after UFC Des Moines. Next Sunday, we'll be talking about the matchups to make after UFC 315. You get the idea. 100% live show. We'll talk about those matchups. Join us every Sunday at 9 p.m. And I mentioned that UFC 315 is coming up. That is a vlog. And if you want to send something for the vlog, like our buddy Thomas Rinker does, there will be a letter, likely a bet slip in here as well. Send it. We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406, Prosper, Texas, 75078. Bet Sam, before I dive in, you got any words for the people?
Listen, Jacob's not here right now, but Big Angelo has showed up once again. So can we get some love for Angelo, the most consistent uploader in all of this space? And I genuinely mean it. I mean, this dude has a family. He's almost 55 years old, and he's still here for you people every single week. So shout out to Angelo.
I mean, nowhere near that age. I'm quite young, but appreciate the somewhat praise, I guess. A couple of comments I start here. Guru's Pubic Hair says, make premium $5 a month since Jacob's not here. Jacob is doing all the premium things, the picks, the bets, everything on premium is still there. All Jacob's doing, taking a little break from the camera for a little while he just sort of regroups himself. And then Hoop said, why did last week's call-in show get deleted? I went to watch it and got sad it wasn't there anymore. That was a literal accident. I was in bed in the app. I went to edit something. I forget what I was editing, a subject line. I forget what the hell I was doing. Oh, no. I went to go delete a different video. So we have videos uploaded that aren't public yet, whether it's a bad take we filmed ahead of time, or sometimes I'll upload a partial video to see if it gets flagged for any copyright because of music. And I went to go delete that because I'm like, all right, clear, we're good. And instead I deleted the call-in show by accident. So if you watched the call-in show live last week, great. If you didn't, well, it's gone forever. Let's go ahead and dive in. Opening up the UFC Des Moines fight card, we have Juliana Miller taking on Ivana Petrovic. This fight is this week's Matt Schnell. This is Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick, but the ladies, and they're going to be opening up the card instead of the featured prelim. We got Juliana Miller, 2-3 in her last 5. She is on an unfortunate 2-fight skid, but that's okay because she only has 6 fights in her entire career. She's taking on Ivana Petrovic, 7-2 in her entire career, 3-2 in her last 5. She's coming off that close decision loss. Juliana Miller's pretty inexperienced. I mentioned she only has 6 professional fights. That's almost nothing in this space, but she did somehow win the Ultimate Fighter for the season that she was on. She's not the most skilled fighter in the world, but she will work for your money. She's aggressive. She comes forward immediately. And while she's on her feet, she's just sort of sloppily trying to make something happen. She's going to try to drag you to the ground. On the ground, more of the same. Doesn't really know what she's doing, but tons of pressure. She will fight for your money. And to her credit, she doesn't really know what she's doing because she's pretty new to this sport. I imagine over time, somebody as busy as her, as dedicated as her, putting in the work that she is putting in, she will improve. and we see somebody with only 6 professional fights, every time they come out, you can expect some improvements. She is coming off that knockout loss to Juliana Santos, where it was clear there needs to be more improvements. She's taking on Ivana Petrovic. Pretty well-rounded fighter overall. She's a busy striker, and then she'll turn into a grappler. Solid wrestling, heavy pressure with the BJJ if she ends up on top. She's going to work you against the cage, drag you to the ground, immediately start looking for something. And she's coming off that split decision loss over Jamie Lynn Horth, where she was a little sloppy, but she was super tough. She was patient, and there were some moments of success. I've mentioned this on my quick picks. I'm going to mention it here. When I watch fights live, sometimes I'm stuck watching it on my phone because I'm doing stuff with the family. Sometimes I get to watch it in the media room with friends. Other times I get to sit right here and watch it at this computer. I actually prefer this because I've got a big enough screen in front of me. I can have multiple things going on at once while I'm watching. I can prepare for the post-fight show, and I take notes. And the reason I take notes, to me, it is very important to remember how I felt in the moment. Going back and rewatching tape is important and it matters, but seeing my raw notes from the second I watch those fights is also very important. And I'm glad I did that, and we'll find out. But last time when I watched Juliana Miller fight, in the notes, I wrote, sucks. That's it. No elaboration, nothing, just sucks. And I reminded myself of that when I went back and looked the notes for this card. I said, okay, well, that's how I felt at the time. That's got to be true. So while Juliana Miller does come forward and she is tough and she is aggressive, Ivana Petrovic can get the takedowns. We've seen Juliana get taken down. Ivana Petrovic's the more well-rounded fighter of the two, and she is also very tough. Ivana's the pick. No surprise there at minus 225. I was debating a plus 3.5 on Juliana Miller. And if you know what that is, you bet the spread. She needs to win a round. But I talked myself out of it basically by saying, well, my notes say she sucks and I can't bet on somebody that sucks. What do you think, Samuel?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Juliana Miller is definitely a B-side fighter. This is not somebody that you're going to see ever headlining a card in her life. You know, a 3-3, she doesn't exactly have a whole lot of experience here. On the Ivana Petrovic side, though, she also doesn't have any name value wins. But I do think that split decision against Jamie Lynn Horth, who is somebody that I think is always in the gym and always looking to improve, Jamie Lynn Horth, that is. I think that showed that Ivana Petrovic is in there and is tough and is going to be able to, most importantly, in my eyes, be able to dictate where this fight takes place. I think if it's up to her, she can stop the takedowns of Juliana Miller. She can choose whether she wants to be on top or not, you know, and that will dictate where, if she has the striking success, she'll stay there. If she has success on the ground, and, you know, in these women's fights, that means a huge amount, particularly when neither of them are packing a whole lot of firepower. I expect the person who's able to dictate where the fight take place to be able to win this fight, most likely by decision. But I do think that if there is a finish, it's going to be Ivana Petrovic by ground and pound, by getting on top and just splitting Juliana Miller open with some elbows or some hammer fists. So that's where I'm going to lean. And I do think, you know, first fight of the night, if you want to have some action, get on that Ivana Petrovic line. It's not terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you know, frankly, it is tough because I do like my lady overs, right? They probably, I'm making up a stat right now, but I can't imagine it's wrong. I would say 80% of the lady fights go over 2.5, and that's a ton. And on this card, we have 3 or 4 different female fights, and I like the over 2.5 on all of them on the surface, but ultimately it's like, this fight could be the weird one. This could be the one where there could be a weird stoppage. A, Juliana is a grinder. She is tough. She is gritty. And B, there's a big skill gap there. So it could go the other way. So I'm going to stay away from this over 2.5, even though my gut is always to go ahead and do that. We do have a big disparity in DraftKings Fantasy as well. $8,800 to $7,400. The $8,800 on the Ivana side is enticing if she's going to wrestle. If she is going to move forward, grind Juliana to the ground, get the takedowns, work on top. All of a sudden, she's going to score some points. It's 5 points per takedown. You get points for control time. You get points for signature. Okay. Are you typing on that keyboard with a hammer?
Yeah. These two meat hammers right here, brother.
Okay. Yeah. More like sausage squeezers, basically. Anyway, the $8,800 on the Ivana Petrovic side, I think that makes a little more sense because if she does win, I imagine there's a lot of grinding, a lot of grappling that does score well. If you do want to check out every single bet we have on the board, including Bet Sam's Slam of the Week, including my safety parlay, and including Jacob's bets. He's not here in person, but he is there in the ethos, in the universe, and you can feel his spirit through his bets and his picks at We Want Picks right now. just click become a member at the top. It's $10. You unlock everything you need, not only for this card, but for the next 3 as well. We got one comment. It's not a super chat, but it said, thoughts on Dumas's arrest. Is he getting cut? He should be. It's absolutely insane if he's not. He was just arrested on the 28th. Is that today? Is today the 28th? He was just arrested on the 28th for robbery, battery. He had a weapon. He had drug paraphernalia, all allegedly, right? He's not guilty, but he was just arrested for all of those things. You got to cut the dude. And it's not like he's John Jones and you just make excuses. Cut his ass. Also, we have a few callers in the queue. I see you there, Joe. We'll get to you in the next fight. I'll do my piece. Sam will do his, and then we'll hop to you. If you do want to call in, you do want to join this breakdown, you are more than welcome. If you're a premium member, the link is in the Discord or on your account page on premium. You do need to have your camera on and be ready to go to talk about whatever fight we go to you for. Next up at UFC Des Moines, we have DonTale Mayes taking on Thomas Petersen. Thomas Petersen spells his name with all E's, and that's a little tricky, but he is 9-3 overall, 3-2 in his last 5. He is coming off that finished loss to Shamil Gaziv. He's taking on DonTale Mayes, 11-8 in his career, 2-3 in his last 5. He is riding back-to-back grappling losses, and those losses and how he lost play very much into why this line looks the way it is. Because DonTale is a pretty good boxer. He's got heavy hands. He's got decent footwork. He'll set up his combinations well. He'll move forward 100% of the strikes that he throws, has 100% effort into it. He throws everything with massive power, leg kicks, overhands, all of it. He's not really a wrestler. He does have some takedowns of his own, 7 to be exact in the UFC, but he doesn't really defend takedowns as well. Most recently, he was taken down and submitted in less than a minute. He's taking on Thomas Petersen. Thomas Petersen is a solid wrestler. He'll work from bear hugs to shooting doubles. His striking is not fantastic, but he'll close that gap with some straights, a couple of bombs, march forward, try to get you to the clinch cage, and then drag you to the ground. He's busy in the clinch. If he cannot take you down, especially in this fight, he is going to be in a little bit of trouble. He's coming off that KO loss to Shamil Gaziv where he had a takedown, and it was like, oh, shit. And then he couldn't keep it on the ground. It got to the feet. Things did not go well for him there. And this is a pretty straightforward breakdown. If Thomas Petersen gets the takedowns, he wins this fight. Simple. And if he doesn't, he gets smoked on the feet. I do think he gets the takedowns. Therefore, I think he wins. The one point of concern, though, is I don't do the Instagram research per se, right? I don't deep dive Instagram looking for things specifically. I don't go nuts, right? What I do, though, is post all of these graphics to Instagram. And I tag the fighters. I got to find their Instagram handles. And when I was posting this one to Thomas Petersen's, that dude is still working a normal-ass union job. And I get it. UFC doesn't pay what it needs to pay for you to not have a union job with health benefits. So by all means, he's doing the right thing. But it does bring in the question, like, what's the training look like? When are you getting the hours in? What's going on there? Betty, Sammy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, in reference to the Instagram deep dive and research here, Thomas Petersen, DonTale Mayes. DonTale Mayes trained at, I believe it was John Jones camp, if it wasn't done at Albuquerque, New Mexico. And honestly, it doesn't show at all. He's out there. He's huge. He's clearly an athletic, large gentleman. But the fact that he's been heel hooked twice in the heavyweight division alone shows you that he hasn't rounded out his skill set. His ground game is clearly not where it needs to be. And not only did he get heel hooked, but against Walter Walker in his last showing, he got heel hooked so fast and he tapped immediately. He didn't really hunt for any way out of the submission. And so that just shows to me that there is a huge deficit in the ground here. And Thomas Petersen's best aspect is his ground game and his ground and pound and whatnot. And, you know, DonTale Mayes being 6'6", you know, an enormous individual, that only becomes more difficult to get up off the ground. Gravity for the large gentleman is not their friend. Thomas Petersen, though, I would love him at this price if he just showed a little bit more advancement in his physique. You know, I would like to see him clean up his diet, come in here a little bit more in shape, because then I would know that he has the energy and the output to be able to reshoot and keep shooting takedowns if he starts to get in trouble here. But if DonTale Mayes gets on top of him after a poor striking exchange, I could see him also finishing the fight. Ultimately, I'm steering clear of it, but picking a side, it would be Thomas Petersen because that grappling gap is just huge. So,
yeah, it ultimately is going to come down to the grappling. I don't know why you had to body shame the guy. I don't know what the hell he did to you. He is a professional athlete, and you're wearing a Superman.
Doesn't look like it. You know?
Very different people living very different lives. But yeah, let's call the guy fat and say he needs to do a couple sit-ups. The reality is, I agree. It is going to come down to the wrestling, but it's not wild if the exact same thing happens in this fight that happened in Thomas Petersen's last fight. Literally the exact same thing could happen. Get a quick takedown. Somehow there's a scramble. Dante's back on his feet, lights him up. I mean, that's very possible. It's not like Thomas has this like wild granite chin that can't be touched. If that was the case, then it's like, yeah, he'll deal with some chaos, eventually get it to the ground, and I'd be all in on him. He can be put out. DonTale Mayes hits hard enough to put people out. So a couple concerns there. I wish we had better odds than minus 250. We'll see what later in the week looks like. $8,900 in DraftKings Fantasy. Again, similar to what we just said with Ivana Petrovic. If she gets the take, or he gets the takedowns, gets the control, potentially a finish on top, all of a sudden he's going to score really well. But now we're creeping into expensive territory here. We only have 12 fights on this card, so have to be a little more selective. We don't quite have as many options. Thomas Petersen, $8,900. I'm undecided, but definitely not throwing DonTale in there at 73. If you do want to check out what the artificial intelligence has to say, yes, we have a full-blown AI that is picking fights based off historical data. It is constantly learning. It's a neural net. I don't know. The guy who developed it will tell me. I think it's a neural net, whatever the hell, which means there are hundreds of individual simulations, and then they all simulate together, and then they simulate, and then the artificial intelligence learns from it. I don't know what the hell it means, but it's been picking at a pretty solid accuracy. You can check that out now, along with everybody else's picks and bets on the website. Just go to wewantpicks.com. It's fucking $10. It's $10. If you sign up and you hate it, cancel. You're out $10. If you love it, as most people do with well over 4,000 premium members, it's the best value you will ever get in this space. wewantpicks.com. Joe said he wants to do the Miesha Tate fight, so we'll do that. Nothing creepy, Joe. Okay? Keep it together. Next up, at UFC Des Moines, we have a Gaston Bolanos taking on Quang Lee. Gaston Bolanos, 8-4 in his career, 3-2 in his last 5. He's coming off that bounce back win over Cortavius Romy. He's taking on Quang Lee, 8-2 in his career, 3-2 in his last 5. He is looking for his very first UFC win. Gaston Bolanos, solid striker, solid Muay Thai background. He's got good power. He will engage. His claim to fame, both in Muay Thai and MMA, has been spinning back elbow knockouts. He actually said, I saw an interview where he said, I watched Molly McCann get 2 spinning back elbows in MMA, and I aspired to be that good one day. So he went out, he worked on it. He got a couple of spinning back elbow finishes, not quite as many as the great Molly McCann, but he is working towards his dream and following his goal. So good for him. Ultimately, he's a phenomenal striker that is going to need to keep this fight on the feet. If it gets to the ground, he doesn't have like phenomenal jiu-jitsu or anything, but he definitely has some scramble skills, can work his way out. He is coming off that decision win over Cortavius Romeus, where he was taken down 4 times, but he did get 2 of his own, and he controlled the striking. Taking on Quang Lee. Quang Lee's a striker. He's got a Muay Thai stance, a willingness to move forward. He is light on his toes. He's got some solid movement. He'll find his range with kicks. He likes to hang out on the outside of the pocket before creating some chaos to enter it. He's got a few takedowns. They are usually just the backup plan. Overall, he is durable. He is scrappy. He is also sloppy. He's coming off that KO loss to Long Zhao, and I think Gaston wins here. I think Gaston's just too clean of a striker. I think his name is too pretty. I think he's just going to get this done. He's the, what they call him, the budget Ilya, because they look very similar. And yeah, he honestly, that's not an insult. I would say he's close to that. He's like Ilya Taporia somewhat, obviously in looks, but in style, it's that same sort of tight striking, and he'll explode in the combinations that he'll set up well. Is he that good? Of course not. But even 75% of that, 60% of that is good enough to win this fight. Gaston Bolanos, a very good high-level striker. I do not see him losing the strike exchanges, and I don't see him getting taken down. Gaston is going to be the pick, and I have a money line bet on him, just straight up money line. I'm pretty confident in him. There's not a lot of value in this card with straight money lines, but I think Gaston is one of those plays. What do you think, Samuel?
Yeah, I mean, Gaston Bolanos, he burned me a little bit last time out. I did play Cortavius Romeus against Gaston Bolanos, and I was expecting him to be able to, control with the takedowns and potentially even find a finish of his own. Gaston Bolanos said, screw all that noise. I'm going to take over here. And he took the limelight for himself. Even though Cortavius Romeus hasn't turned out to be who we would like him to be, I still think that I trust American wrestling more than Vietnamese wrestling. So I'm going to take Gaston Bolanos because if this stays on the feet, he's the more polished, kickboxer in this this outing here compared to Quang Le. So I expect him to be able to get the better of the exchanges. And I actually see him getting a knockout over Quang Le in rounds 2 or 3 here.
Yeah, I think it could be a fun one. And like I said, there's not a lot of good value on this card. There just isn't. Like a lot of these money lines are minus 250 for sketchy dudes, minus 600 for people you're actually confident in. And Gaston's a guy where it's like, honestly, there is some value in this line. And this line is starting to tighten. It's minus 140 now. It was minus 150 the other day. So for whatever reason, money's coming in on the other side, tightening the line a little bit. I'm fine with it. I think Gaston's going to get it done. So even better value for the people. If you want to wait, hang out, see what else happens to that line. We have a tool called the Line Movement Tracker. It's going to give you the opening odds for every single fighter. It'll give you the current odds for every fighter. It'll give you the It'll give you the line movement, the percentage movement between the two, and it will give you the implied probability. And it's honestly updated. You can follow that. You can see where the line's going, so you can wait or you can jump on something before the value is gone. This fight is one that maybe I would monitor. I would use the line movement tracker to keep an eye on it. If Gaston starts to creep back up, hit your bet. If it continues to plummet for whatever reason, just sit back, wait, and see what we have going on. You can unlock the line movement tracker, all the picks, all the bets, Sam's slam of the week right now at WeWantPicks.com. It's $10. Such a wild, insignificant amount of money that is tariff-free at WeWantPicks.com. You smirked at tariff-free. Did you hear what Amazon's doing? And you may not, because you don't live in the land of
I don't watch the news. Yeah, so.
Well, yeah, and you know, your news is probably censored, and you're not allowed to say things you want to say. It's fine. So, what Amazon is doing is for products that have a tariff on them, they're literally showing that. Like it'll say $10, 3 of it is tariffs, just to like, and it's an interesting strategy because on one hand, it is like, you know, wildly transparent. Like you didn't do that, but tariffs have always existed. They're not new. They've gone up in many situations, but it's an odd thing to do. Ultimately, I think it's because if you go on Amazon, 80% of those electronics are just like cheap Chinese knockoff electronics. 80% of them, the cables, the chargers, all the nonsense on there is all Chinese stuff. And I think Amazon is probably going to get hit more than any other retailer in the world because of all those cheap Chinese products. So there's my
yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense, I guess. It's a little confrontational, to throw the price up there. It's like they're definitely shining a spotlight on it. So
it's interesting. It's confrontation. It could be political, like, hey, look what this administration's doing, or it could just be them trying to justify why everything is so expensive all of a sudden. Because people go to Amazon for convenience and in many cases price. And even if it's the same price or a little more, the convenience is worth it. If all of a sudden, the Pacers won
by 1 point. They were down 6 points as well in the last minute. I got up on the second screen here.
Anyway, so if you show that price, like if I had to raise premium for things outside of my control, I might do something like that. Be like, hey, it's still $10 for me, but the government is forcing me to charge whatever. It's interesting. I saw the people flipping out about that today. Wild move. Next up, at UFC Des Moines, we have Marina Rodriguez taking on Gillian Robertson. Marina Rodriguez, 17-5 in her career. She has an unfortunate 1-4 in her last 5. She's on quite the skid there. Back-to-back split decision losses. Taking on Gillian Robertson, 15-8 in her career, 4-1 in her last 5 on a 3-fight win streak. Marina Rodriguez, very good boxer, solid speed, good power. Her striking is clean. It is technical, but it does lack sort of the takedown defense needed to keep fights standing. She is tall for this weight class. She uses that length to fight at range, and she is very technical. Solid fighter overall who can grind out a win, potentially even find a finish, but she is coming off several split decision losses in a row, most recently to Eisman Lucindo, where the takedown defense was the problem. She's taking on Gillian Robertson. Gillian Robertson is a grappler. She averages close to 3 takedowns per fight. She has 9 submission wins, which gives her the record for the most finishes in women's flyweight history. Her ability to get women to the ground and submit them is important because the striking is just not good enough to hang, especially in a matchup like this. She's coming off that win over Lina Pinheiro, where she had 5 takedowns and 8 full minutes of control. I am going to pick Gillian Robertson here. This is a fight that I look at, and I'm very confident. In my head, I'm like, all right, well, Gillian Robertson's going to win. She can get the takedowns. That's all that's going to matter here. And then I look at it a little longer. I'm like, God damn, dude, 3-1 odds. And I'm relying on Gillian Robertson. Like, she doesn't have unbelievable takedowns. She's not a wrestler who learns submissions. She's a jiu-jitsu nerd who's trying to learn takedowns. So all of a sudden, if Marina Rodriguez can keep this fight standing, she's 10 times the better striker. And the question to me isn't, is the gap on the ground bigger than the gap on the feet? Because I do think the gap on the ground and the gap on the feet are pretty equal. The question to me is more, is the gap in the wrestling as big as the gap in the feet? And honestly, I don't think so. I think the gap in the feet is wildly wide. Marina is such a better striker here. It's not even remotely close. So then it's going to come down to, can Gillian get it to the ground? Not what happens when she gets it to the ground. If she gets it to the ground, she'll keep Marina there. Whether she submits or not, I don't know, but she'll keep her there and she'll rack up points and win the round. But getting her there, yeah, I think she can. I'm going to pick Gillian to win, but 3-1 odds just seems like a bit much. I don't quite know if I'm going to spend those 3-1 odds on her. I do think she gets it done. I think I'm going to wait a little longer for some takedown props and see what we can get there. What do you think, Samuel?
Yeah, guys. So if you're new to me, not new to the channel here, but if you're new to me, Slam of the Week is where I pick my most confident fighter and I put them together, sometimes with another fighter, sometimes alone. And, I really hammer my bankroll down on it. I tell people to do the same. Gillian Robertson was under consideration for Slam of the Week before I even got to the odds. I knew that this matchup was announced a while ago, and I was like, oh, Gillian Robertson against Marina Rodriguez. I expected to get the takedowns. The line is a bit too much. I expected Gillian Robertson to be sitting around, $1.50, $1.60 for the Americans, around the -185, -200 mark. -310 here. It seems like everybody's expecting it to be easy for her to get it down and take her down and then submit her. At -300 range, I'm expecting either a 30-27 from a fighter or the expectation of a finish. And so here, I think that if she doesn't get Marina down early, as Big Ange said there, the striking gap is wild, and Marina Rodriguez is going to put hands on Gillian Robertson. How she responds to that in the moment is really going to dictate whether the price is worth it or not. Ultimately, I think Gillian Robertson does win this fight, so I'm not cautioning you to not bet her. If you have faith in Gillian, then go ahead and parlay her with somebody else to try and squeeze the value out there. Gillian Robertson, though, is going to be the pick here, only because Marina Rodriguez has shown a lack of ability to be able to dictate where the fight takes place time and time again. It's cost her multiple decisions, and this fight is expected to go to decision. And one thing I did want to point out here is that Gillian Robertson's fighting here, and we got UFC Canada next week. I really found that odd that they didn't put this matchup on the
yeah, that
Canada
is
card.
I saw that. Yeah, I was doing the graphics. Canada's fucking tremendous, and they're in Quebec, and I don't know what part of Canada she's from, so maybe it's literally like being in another country. And she lives in America, so she's from Canada, but I believe she lives and trains in America. So it is. I was surprised at that, but there's only 12 fights on this card, so kind of hands are tied.
Yeah. I just thought, red Canadian flag, wear that around your back, run out there, gets the crowd going. Americans seem to go for that, so I don't know why Canada wouldn't, Anyway,
well,
Gillian
Quebec
Robertson
has its own flag, and it's blue, Bet Sam. For fuck's sake.
What would I know from
Blue
little old
flag.
New Zealand?
Yeah.
Out here, parked next to the big iceberg in the southern part of the world.
Yeah, you're quite literally on an island, having no idea what goes on the rest
just
of the
me,
world.
the penguins, and the polar bears down here.
I don't get that.
We're right next to the South Pole. We're the closest nation to it.
But it's not, you don't have penguins or polar bears.
We definitely have penguins. We even have native penguins that are only in
Are they winter penguins or like
all year round, buddy?
Yeah. Do you get snow?
Yeah, we do.
Like real snow or like,
Yeah, we have multiple skiing locations, yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, but that's in the mountains.
Yeah,
not
but
in the
New Zealand's an island. Most of it is mountain.
It's all mountain.
Straight through. Like it's coastal and mountain. That's all it is, basically. The inland is all like mountain strips. So
see, I've
come
been to
come visit sometime.
I've been to Australia. I've never been to New Zealand. And when we went to Australia, it was interesting. Obviously, you know this, but they were like 90% of the population is on the outside. The middle is fucking abandoned wasteland. There's
desolate
nothing there. There's nothing in the middle. 90% of the population is on the outside, which is crazy because it's a massive continent. Oh well. if you guys want to help get us to Australia and maybe heal New Zealand, you can do so by supporting us on Premium. If you use BetSam's code, BetSam, he'll get paid. So help out BetSam. His slam of the week, you said 7 in a row?
Yeah, 7 in a row. We're going for 8 this week.
If all you do is tail, and obviously I'm pushing the hell out of it now, so it's going to fail this week, but skip this one. Next week it'll hit. It'll be back on track. BetSam's slam of the week is wild. It's wild how accurate this thing is. 7 in a row in this sport in this year is insane. If you want to unlock the slam of the week, do it with his code. Use code BetSam. He'll get a couple of bucks out of it. I think you save 10%, something like that. Help out Sammy Boy. Go to WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. You'll unlock every single pick, every single bet, every single tool. No tiers, no bullshit. One thing, $10. WeWantPicks.com. Also, AV, I see you. You called into the show. You do not have your camera on. You're going to have your camera on if you want to join the stream. I cannot trust a voice only. God knows what's coming out of somebody's mouth. Can't trust it. Next up, at UFC Des Moines, we have an interesting matchup between two wrestlers, Azamat, Bekoev, and Ryan Loder. Ryan Loder, 7-1 in his career. He is 4-1 in his last 5 on a 3-fight win streak, taking on Azamat Bekoev, 19-3 in his career, 5-0 in his last 5 on a 7-fight win streak. Azamat Bekoev is a well-rounded guy. He made that splash in his UFC debut. He's got some powerful strikes, some solid takedown defense, solid takedowns offensively, and good BJJ. He's pretty much good everywhere. His technique is not truly the cleanest, and he's not like insanely fast, but he is very powerful. He uses that power well, and he does have the wrestling. His takedowns are also powerful. They're heavy. Many of them are slams. The strikes are big. There's right hands waiting for you. He's not the biggest guy for this weight class, but he closes the distance well. He moves forward with pressure, and he's got solid cardio. He's coming off that big finish win over Zach Reese in his UFC debut. He's taking on Division I wrestler Ryan Loder. Ryan Loder is also the Ultimate Fighter champion. In the octagon, he's a cautious, take your time, worry about what's going to happen wrestler. He walks forward, gauges distance, gets you to back up, then he'll go all in on the wrestling. He does not throw a lot of strikes. But what he will do is plot forward and wait for you to commit to something so he can lower the level and take a shot. On the ground, phenomenal control. And that's what you expect from a D1 wrestler with great hips. He's not really looking to finish, but overall, he's a good wrestler with some solid grappling awareness. I talked about this in my quick picks. There's always debates when you get a high-level American wrestler and then an untested foreign wrestler. And what I mean by that is it's not as if Azamat Bekoev or let's say any of the Dagestanis, for example, are competing in international competitions. We don't have their version of collegiate wrestling to reference or to go off of. We just know he's a Russian, which has solid wrestling programs, and he's a good wrestler. We also don't know what would happen at any sort of international level because the Russians are banned from most of those international competitions. So I'm always interested when we get high-level wrestlers from different nations where we don't have accolades to go off of. For example, a Bo Nickal versus a Hamzat. We know how good Bo Nickal's wrestling is. It's been tested both domestically and internationally. Not Hamzat. Apparently his wrestling is legendary, but we quite literally have no idea. This is a similar type matchup. Ryan Loder is the Division I wrestler. Azamat Bekoev is a phenomenal wrestler, but we don't really have accolades or a resume to list off of to determine how good he is or is not. So this will be a fun matchup. And many times with matchups like this, it comes down to who shoots first. In this case, that is likely Azamat. Azamat also has bigger hands. He has bigger power. If Ryan Loder gets a takedown, this could be a very interesting fight. But I do think Azamat's going to get it done. I think he's just quite literally better everywhere. And as long as he doesn't get taken down first, he should be fine. Azamat is the pick. And these odds are honestly pretty appropriate. I don't think they're very wide. What do you think, Samuel?
Yeah, I mean, when I first looked at this slate for this weekend, I was like hunting for my underdog opportunity. I saw the big plus money here on Ryan Loder. I remembered how he finished up Valentin in round 2 in that crucifix position with the elbows, and I was like, oh, maybe with his wrestling credentials here, he'll be able to do the same to Azamat Bekoev, get him in a compromised position, land ground and pound. I went back and rewatched the tape on Azamat Bekoev because I had already taped them recently for the Zach Reese fight. And the reason why I lean towards Zach Reese in that matchup, huge mistake, by the way, I will admit that very, very, very quickly. Pick. But the reason is because in the past, Azamat Bekoev has looked like he has cardio issues later in fights and against fighters such as Dylan Budka. His wrestling hasn't looked that good. But one thing I will say is that Azamat Bekoev's ground and pound can be vicious. and his round one upside is huge. I believe, off the top of my head, I don't have the stats in front of me right now. I think 9 out of his 19 wins are like round one finishes, either vice submission or KO. It's something like that. It's around about a 50% round one finish upside. So Azamat Bekoev definitely has huge round one upside finish capability here. And he's definitely on those Russian vitamins. You know, you can say what you will, but he's on that Carlos Leal diet program. You know, as Bobby Green said, that Russian vitamins that they're giving to kids there in camps there. Azamat Bekoev is melting the cup here if they test him. And I think that's going to help him here, because if they get into a 50-50 exchange and Ryan Loder's a little bit, you know, like not so hot to switch into a new position, he's going to end up underneath Azamat Bekoev, and Bekoev will just pound his face in. We just saw it recently over in, I believe it was the PFL. Mark Jacasey just got rounded out by a Russian dude, round one, gets chinned. I could see the same thing happening here, where Ryan Loder starts trying to play jiu-jitsu off his back and is eating ground and pound quicker than he realizes he knows what's happening. So Azamat Bekoev, round one finish is my prediction here.
Yeah, it should be an interesting fight. I do think he wins. Obviously, there are some concerns anytime you get a big, strong wrestler, 6'2", a southpaw, D1 wrestler. The only reason I'm not very confident in Ryan Loder, who fits the bill of somebody I would normally be confident in, is he does not go all in on the wrestling. He's a little too hesitant, takes his time sometimes. Like, he doesn't just start spamming takedowns, shooting over and over and over and over and over. So if he's waiting, he's hanging around the feet a little too long, he's waiting for a shot to come in, it's going to be a problem for him. $6,900 in DraftKings Fantasy to $9,300 in DraftKings Fantasy. If you don't know what those numbers are, DraftKings Fantasy is effectively fantasy football, but for fights. You have a $50,000 budget. With that budget, you have to pick 5 fighters or 6 fighters based off of their salary. You then take those 6 fighters, you build your lineup, and you take that lineup and you compete against other people, sometimes just for fun, sometimes for money. And when you have a specific salary to work with that you have to get fewer than $10,000 per fighter, $9,300 is a lot of money to spend. But if he can score the points, he could put up 100+ points, he could find a finish, do all those things, then it was money well spent. I do think Azamat probably will be money well spent, because he does have the upside with the hands, he's got the upside with the wrestling, and ultimately I think he will get it done. If you do want to check out the tools, we have tools that will help you build a DraftKings fantasy lineup. We have tools that will straight up build it for you. We have tools that will help you find bets. We have a tool called the Prop Hunter, curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. Unlock every single one of those tools, as well as copy-paste bets from the boys. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. It is only $10 for the entire month. That includes UFC 315 next week, the Gilbert Burns fight card after that, the Aaron Blanchfield fight card after that. Next up, at UFC Des Moines, we have Yana Santos taking on Miesha Tate. Yana Santos, 15-8 in her career, 2-3 in her last 5. She's coming off that win over Chelsea Chandler. She's taking on Miesha Tate, 20-9 in her career, 2-3 in her last 5. She is coming back after a full year layoff. We'll start on the Yana Santos side. She is Thiago Marreta Santos's wife, high volume striker. She lands almost 5 significant strikes per minute. She was a high level striker before her MMA career as well. She used to be Yana Kunitskaya, if you're trying to do that research. She does not have a ton of power, but she's got plenty of output. She mixes things up really well. She's got great kicks. She uses those to maintain distance. She has offensive wrestling as well, and we've seen her lean on that in the past if she has to. But it does come with a very low low enough 53% accuracy, and even lower 42% takedown defense. She likely needs that takedown defense in this fight because she's fighting old school fighter Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate's the former bantamweight champion of the world. She's fought some of the best women that have ever walked the planet. Amanda Nunes, Ronda Rousey. She's fought them all. Holly Holm. She's also the Celebrity Big Brother champion. I love Big Brother. Celebrity Big Brother, when I saw Miesha Tate was in it, was just a treat. And the cherry on top was that she dominated that entire show. And the interesting part about her dominating the show, it wasn't just her physicality or her coordination or athleticism. It was literally her personality. The fact that she was able to make friends with everybody in the house and just a nice, normal person. So Miesha Tate worked her way through the house, finessed her way there, then comes out, finessed her way to a win over Julia Avila in 2023. And now here she is after a significant layoff. Only a couple of fights in the last 7 years as a favorite, thinking she's going to finesse her way through striker Yana Santos. I don't see it. I think Yana is the pick. I think she's going to win this fight. The reality is I like Miesha Tate. I've watched Miesha Tate's entire career. I was rooting for Miesha Tate against Ronda Rousey in those matchups. The reality is Miesha Tate's, I'll switch the slide now. She's not insanely old on paper. She's only 38 years old, but she's old in fight years and she's old in skill years, meaning this sport is evolving very, very quickly. Gone are the days where pretty good wrestling is enough. And that's where Miesha's wrestling is. It's pretty good. I don't think her pretty good wrestling is going to be enough to take down giant, physically demanding, fast, accurate striking Yana Santos. I think Yana's going to win this fight. I think she can keep it on the feet. Obviously, this could just be a boring Nurmagomedov style fight with Miesha winning, but I do think Yana's going to get it done. The line is tightening a little bit here. A plus 3.5 bet was something I was about to place until I saw it was minus 260. So the sports books tend to agree with me that Yana can have some success. But Yana Santos is my pick. What do you think, Samuel?
I mean, first off, this slide looks like it's battle of the soccer moms. I couldn't stop smirking at it, looking at these two women here. But
they are both moms.
Yeah, I know. This is where I was going with this as well. They're both mothers. Yana Santos, I think, has shown us more since in being in motherhood. She's had more fights, more performances. And Miesha Tate getting a win over Julia Vila does nothing for me. She was never that good to begin with, and she also was on the tail end of her career. While Yana Santos, beat Chelsea Chandler, who we just saw get absolutely smoked. I actually think that Yana Santos' performance there showed more growth than what we saw from Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate was still leaning on the exact same skill set. It wasn't like we saw her striking coming out here. She got a KO win or anything like that. In this fight here, if she doesn't get the takedowns, she is so screwed. Like, she's absolutely so screwed here. Yana Santos not only is a lifelong mixed martial artist herself, but, her partner, Thiago Santos, lifelong mixed martial artist. It is in their family. They're going to be in the gym all the time, working on their striking, working on the takedown defense. Yana Santos doesn't have to offer takedowns. She just has to stop the takedowns here from Miesha Tate. So if she works herself around the outside of the octagon, uses fence takedowns, Israel Adesanya style, scooping underhooks, getting Miesha Tate off there, then she should pick her apart on the striking here. I like Yana Santos, especially at dog money here. So
yeah, we're on the same side as this pick, and we have a special guest. A premium member is going to hop in, give us his pick. Joe R., how you doing? And how do you feel about this fight?
I'm doing well, gents. I don't know if I'm special, but thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you.
I want to talk about this one because I'm on the other side from you guys, because I'm definitely more on the Miesha side.
Goodbye, Joe. No, I'm just fucking.
I mean, looking at their strength of schedule, I feel like Miesha's fought better people. I know that she hasn't fought a lot. And, looking at the stats, Santos does have a 42% takedown defense, and Tate's takedown offense is only 31%, but that's because she shoots a lot. Kind of like if you look at Merab's percentage, like, he shoots a lot, and you wouldn't say he's got a high percentage, but he gets a lot of takedowns. So, I mean, I agree with Sam. She's definitely screwed if she doesn't get the takedowns, but I do think she's going to get them. And I agree with you where you say the sport's evolving, but Santos is old too. She's from the same time period. So I think that Tate's going to get the takedowns, and I think she could eventually get a finish. And even if she doesn't, on DraftKings at 8,300, I feel like that's a really good price. And if she gets 3 takedowns and just holds her down, the riding time plus the takedowns are going to end up with a good score. Also, her last 2 wins, she did win in the 3rd round. So if she gets like the takedowns and the control time and a late finish at 8,300, I think she's worth it.
Yeah, listen, I get that side entirely. I completely, it's a very rational, reasonable side to be on. Miesha Tate is by far the more accomplished of the two. Not only former world champion, but quite literally fought not only the best of her era, but that era happened to be the best era ever for this division. You had Ronda Rousey, Amanda Nunes. Like, Miesha Tate has literally fought everybody that has ever been worth anything in this division. So I agree with you from that front. I do just worry this sport is way too gone for her. And you mentioned Yana's a little older as well, but Yana, to me, you can age better as a high-level striker or a high-level wrestler. Miesha's not a high-level wrestler. She just gets takedowns.
No, you're right.
With that, or you feel
no,
like
I do. I do,
good.
but I think that, I mean, I'm also a former wrestler like you are, so I've done it. And I know that I don't really see Santos's wrestling defense keeping her in. I just don't think it's that good. And, beating Chelsea Chandler, we just saw that we kind of knew she was terrible, and we just kind of had that confirmed. So again, Sam is right that she looked good against her, but she's really not that good. And I know the whole division isn't good either, so it's hard to compare. But just from the tape that I watched, I just feel like Tate looked better in her last fight, and I think she was going against a better opponent. But again, this is closely salaried and closely lined for a reason. It's going to probably be close, so it makes sense to have arguments on both sides.
What I do agree with is in DraftKings Fantasy, the $8,300 on Miesha Tate makes way more sense than $7,900 for Yana. If Yana wins, it's defend the takedowns, land a million strikes. She doesn't have enough power to get rid of Miesha, and Miesha is insanely tough. We've seen her take insane beatings, so this likely goes to a decision. With Yana winning, it's just defend the takedown, punch, 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 defend the takedown, punch, punch, punch. With Miesha winning, she's getting takedown. She's hanging out on top. I don't think there's a finish on that side, but she'll get the takedown, she'll get the control time, and I think that $8,300 could potentially be worth it. So I agree with you there, and if you're on the Miesha side, you should probably spend that money. Any last words for the people, Joseph?
No, I appreciate you having me on, and maybe I'll jump back in later if you guys have some space. But
sure.
Thanks, Joe.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Thanks for being here. That was Joe with the insight. If you're wondering where the hell did this guy come from, we are allowing premium members. If you're up to it and your camera is on, we've got about 15 people in the queue. None of your cameras are on. Turn on your camera. If you're up to it and your camera's on, we'll have you on the show, break down a fight just like Joey did. And if you do want to check out every single pick, bet, and tool that we offer, those are available right now. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. At the top, you'll unlock every single one of those for every single fight card for an entire month. AV, I see you in there. I see you dancing around. Your camera's on. Type in the private chat which fight you want to break down. This way, I don't put you on. You're like, oh, I don't know. You got it. And it's promo time, boys. If you go to WeWantPicks.com/bets and you use any of our affiliate links to sign, here's your radio voice, to sign up with any one of our
so quick,
partners, any one of your sportsbook partners. No, but straight up, we have affiliate deals with different sportsbook partners. And if you use our affiliate link and you sign up, we get paid. And when we get paid, you get paid. I slice off $50 and I give it to you. Everybody does so well. You guys get a new sportsbook account. We get a couple bucks. You get a couple bucks, and all is well in the universe. Check that all out at WeWantPicks.com/bets. As I mentioned previously, and I'm going to continue to mention because we have a lot of people behind the scenes making sure that premium membership is not only the greatest value on this planet, but also has unique tools and everything that anybody could need heading into a fight week. A lot of you like to do tape. We just heard Joe pop on the show. He said the tape I watched. Bet Sam watches tape. A lot of you watch tape. And a lot of you know what a pain in the dick it is to go find the fights. Obviously, they exist, but to go find them, to go dig in, even the ones that are obvious and should just be right there on Fight Pass. Have you used Fight Pass? Do you know what a nightmare it is to try to find fights in the most poorly designed app and website in history? The Tape Index takes all that bullshit out of it. It gives you every single fighter, their full fight history, how those fights went. And if you want to watch that fight with your own eyes, you click the little red play button and that video just pops up right for you. We also have an optimizer. If you play DraftKings Fantasy, this will build fantasy lineups for you. If you know what you're doing, you can do it yourself. If you don't, you answer a few high-level questions and it will do it for you. We have a fight simulator that simulates fights based solely off of historical information. It is bringing in historical grappling stats, historical striking stats, historical DraftKings stats, and the current implied probability. It is using that information, simulating these fights 100,000 times and giving you those outputs. You can unlock all those tools, 30 other tools I won't mention because everybody gets their panties in a wad. If I start, God forbid, we try to feed our families over here. You can unlock all of that for an entire month. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. Here's the 4 events that will exist in that month. And we are in the midst, the throes of a very long fight stretch that has a lot of highs. We have UFC 315, UFC 316, UFC 317, and all the fight nights in between. Check it all out now. WeWantPicks.com. Finally, everything is inside. I'm going to say finally about 3 times. Everything is inside of the app. Download the app. The app is 100% free. And the reason that matters, but I'm not premium. You will still get push notifications when things happen. It wasn't just 2 pay-per-views ago where fights were canceled last minute. And the thousands of people that have downloaded the app got a push notification saying, guess what, pal? Couple fights dropped. Go check your DraftKings lineups. Go check your bets. I put out a push notification today said, here's some bets that Jacob placed for UFC Des Moines. So make sure you download the app and the push notifications are on. And finally, a reminder, every single Sunday, 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 I will be live on this channel with Josh Thompson going over the fights to make next based off of the previous event. So we were live just 3 days ago on this channel talking about the fights and the matchups to make after UFC Kansas City. We will be live this Sunday at 9 p.m. Central Time, talking about the fights to make after UFC Des Moines. We'll be live after UFC 315, doing the exact same thing. Sundays, 9 p.m. Join us live. Let's talk about the matchups to make next. And next week's pay-per-view, it's a big week. It's a good pay-per-view card. This Tuesday show that you're watching right now will be on Thursday. I've got a whole bunch of life stuff going on next week that I can't move things around. So Tuesday is an unreasonable time for me to do the stream. We are going to do the stream on Thursday. Check it out. We've got a special guest lined up. Come check out who that guest is going to be Thursday on the 8th. And finally, that is a pay-per-view card. Check it all out. Send us some stuff. We got letters from Thomas Rinker. Last time we got a letter from Haywood Jablomi. If you want to send a letter, you want to send something else, we want picks, P.O. Box 406, Prosper, Texas, 75078. Samuel, any words before we jump into the main card?
Yeah, I mean, those promos just go by so quick. So, you know, it's so
Smooth
good.
as butter.
Because, you know, they don't take up too much time. So it's beautiful. Quick words before this one. I just want to highlight one of those comments. If you could pull this one up for me, Angelo. It was from Red Chimp, and it's in reference to Davison Figueiredo. Red Chimp in the chat here. He's posted it.
Chimp?
Yeah, you'll see it. It says, he looks like my Hispanic uncle ready to cook steak on a grill with a beer in hand. Dude looks genuinely ready to miss weight. If you guys don't know what he's referring to, there were some pictures that have come out of Davison Figueiredo, and he does not look like the Davison Figueiredo that you know or recognize. Yeah, he's looking bad. He's looking rough. Maybe it's just the lighting in the camera angle, but it looked like some footage in the room. And so maybe that's why this line has blown the way it has towards Corey Sandhagen. Maybe some people have seen some things that we haven't, but he looks like he is about to miss weight, and he looks huge as well. His belly is distended. So for himself, you know.
Yeah, do me a favor. Get it on your phone and show us so we can see.
I don't have my phone here.
What? How do you
I don't keep my phone on me a lot of the time. Yeah.
That's nuts. That's a wild way to live.
One last couple rooms over, but yeah.
Couple rooms. Oh, look who's living in the big house. Low skills. Angelo, have you taken your kids fishing out in that pond by the house? Yes, we go fishing quite a bit. I'll probably go fishing for the UFC 315 vlog. We'll see. They love it. They're constantly asking to go fishing. And sometimes I love it. Sometimes it's like, all right, girls, it's the middle of the day. The fish are not biting, and it is hot as shit. But yes, they do like it, and I do take them. Opening up the UFC Des Moines main card, we have the return of Jeremy Stephens, and he is taking on the returning Mason Jones. It's the battle of the comebacks. Jeremy Stephens, 29-21 in his career. He is an abysmal 1-4 in his last 5. He is, though, 3-0 in bare knuckle boxing. He's taking on Mason Jones, 15-2 in his career, 4-1 in his last 5. He is riding a 4-fight win streak, which earned his way back into the favor of the UFC. So here he is. If you don't know Jeremy Stephens, he should be a familiar name to the diehards and the big-time UFC fans. He's also a weird signing for this card. I understand he's from Des Moines, but his MMA career has been on the wild downslide for a little bit now. He was a UFC staple for a while. He was on the wrong side of the who the fuck is that guy quote. He is that guy that Connor is asking about. He had a handful of exciting fights, a handful of exciting wins before hitting a 5-fight skid, which is why he was cut. So then he went to PFL to dominate, right? That's what you do. You get cut by the UFC, you go to PFL, and you dominate. Except not Jeremy. He went 1-2. in the PFL. Then he left there to go bare knuckle boxing, and he finally started to dominate again. 3-0 in bare knuckle boxing. MMA wise, he's a big, heavy-handed striker that's going to move forward, fire away. He's always exciting to watch. He does have the skills to compete, but never compete at the top of a division. The majority of his career was spent chasing knockouts. He's taking on Mason Jones, similar to Jeremy. Mason was cut by the UFC, and he's now back with another crack at the big show. Mason is an aggressive striker. He's got nice boxing, great takedowns. He's got a fantastic 80% takedown defense, and if he does get taken down, he gets back up immediately, and he starts working. He also has his own solid takedowns. He averages a little more than 3 per fight, and he's coming off 4 regional wins, which, as I mentioned, earned his way back to the UFC. Jeremy's always fun to watch. I imagine this fight will be exactly the same. He got that call back because A, he's from Des Moines, and B, those 3 wins in bare knuckle boxing have been pretty sweet, actually. Like, pretty sweet. BKFC, his wins are good. The Eddie Alvarez win in Philly, in enemy territory, getting shit on, that was a nice win. So he can bang. He can stand there. He can bang. He can let leather fly. He's also been out of the UFC where you don't have to pee in jars to figure out whether you're on or off something. He's been out of the UFC where he's fighting sort of weird matchups in different sports with different rules. And he is now back, and the odds reflect a pretty healthy gap here. And I think these are correct. I think Mason Jones absolutely gets it done. I think Mason Jones at minus 550 is probably a decent deal. Jeremy has the better body of work. It's not even close, but Mason Jones should get it done. Minus 550. Honestly, those odds seem fine. What do you think, Samuel?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if this was Jeremy Stephens a few years ago, I think these odds would be a little bit different. But a part of his losing skid, if you go back and look at the guys he was losing to, all of these guys would dust Mason Jones. So I think that there is, as bad as it looks, I think he was like 2-8 in his last 10 fights or something. As far as MMA was concerned, he definitely had a very poor ratio. Might have been 3-7 or something like that. But Jeremy Stephens lost a lot of fights in the UFC. And the reason they kept him around, they didn't cut him after 2 or 3 losses, is because he is very exciting and he hits ridiculously hard. He's one of those guys that he does have the death touch, whether it's with his kicks or his hands. He busts people up. And even in his highlight reel loss against Kelvin Kattar, he still broke his nose, and Kelvin Kattar was being interviewed and wiping his mouth because there was blood coming out of his mouth and nose throughout. If you're fighting Jeremy Stephens, you're probably going to get hurt even in a victory here. And the reason why I'm going to have a little bit of an outside pick here is because I went back and watched all of Mason Jones' regional footage here, and this dude is ridiculously hittable. And even though I don't think he's ever been knocked out, if he's lining his chin out there for Jeremy Stephens, who's been doing nothing but improve on his hands, I think the knockout is still potentially there, and it's going to be an odds play for me. I think Jeremy Stephens at plus 420 here. It's potentially a win inside the distance decision no action, because Jeremy Stephens is as tough as they come. I can't think of too many 145 pounders that have displayed the toughness of Jeremy Stephens. Even when he got his head split open, elbowed, knocked out by Kelvin Kattar, immediately gets up, goes and pats Kelvin Kattar and goes, "Hey, this guy's a stud, well done." He didn't cry or pout about it. This dude is ridiculously tough. So even if Jeremy Stephens loses here, I think it's on the cards. So I'm going to take Jeremy Stephens inside the distance.
So you're not worried about the takedown defense?
Oh, I am. Yeah. But I think it's going to be a decision if it gets there.
It didn't sound like it.
I said if they stay on the feet, the defensive gap with Mason Jones, he's very hittable on the feet for sure.
And you're not worried about the size difference?
No.
Okay. No. Yeah, that is kind of a flyer pick. I get what you're saying. Jeremy Stephens hits like an absolute freight train, and Mason also wears damage. When you're that pale, you look like you've been hit. And as we all know, recently, judges only seem to give a shit about who's a little bit bloody, who's swinging for the fences. If this was in Vegas, if this was UFC Vegas, whatever the hell, then it's like, all right, shit. Like, we could have an issue here with Mason being basically see-through pale, wearing damage, and Jeremy just swinging for the fences. I'm on the opposite side. Sam and I are split here. So if you need a tiebreaker, if you need to understand, well, what does everybody else think? Go check out everybody else's picks. That includes Artem, Jacob, and the artificial intelligence. Those picks are all on the website right now, ready to go, including the DraftKings optimizer, including DraftKings playbook, and everything else that you could ever need heading into a fight week. $6,700 in DraftKings fantasy for Jeremy Stephens. I assume you'll want a tiny bit of exposure to him if you're building multiple lineups, but for a single entry cash game, Jeremy Stephens probably isn't going to make a lot of sense. If you're throwing 100 lineups in a large tournament to try to make a nice payday, then maybe a little bit of exposure will suit you well. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It's $10 for an entire month. Anything you could ever want or need heading into a fight week. Next
By the way,
up,
can I address on that real quick? The
Oh, I'd
chat's
love
talking
if you
about getting
did.
Adam. The chat's talking about getting Adam on here. Listen, me and Adam were supposed to do a show the other week, and he just didn't show up. So getting Adam on here, I don't know about that. The dude is a very unreliable person to get on the camera. So Adam, if you're watching this, he's probably halfway through a bucket of KFC and about to fall asleep again. So
that's what he said happened, or you just called him fat with the bucket of KFC joke?
no, he loves KFC and lives right next to one. Yeah, like we talk about it all the time. He lives right next to a KFC. Yeah.
What a fucking slob dork that kid is. He literally just no-showed.
Yeah.
He
was
just
like,
didn't show up.
He was like, I thought we said tomorrow. I was like, yeah. Messaged me like 2 hours after I'd done it. You know,
What a fucking moron. And the worst part is he's unbelievable at his fight pick average is very good. Last year he averaged like 75% or something dumb. And his regional fights, what he does with Cage Warriors, what he does with LFA is insane. I've been calling him the regional Rain Man. He's picked more than one perfect card in the last couple of months. It's insane. And then his stupid ass just doesn't show up for a scheduled stream. What an absolute moron. He did just send me his PFL video, so I'll have that uploaded tomorrow. You can let him know in the comments what an idiot he is. And also, KFC is probably the worst chain fried chicken. You guys have Popeyes? Popeyes is very good.
no, I don't know if we do. Maybe if we do, everything goes to Auckland, which is our capital city. It has like a quarter of the country's population there. So there are some American chains that have started to spill over, like Taco Bell, but they always go through Auckland, and then if they start to establish success, then they start to go through. But I've not seen a Popeyes, so no.
Yeah, Popeyes is way better than KFC, and then we have even like other regional ones that are unbelievable. Get yourself some Church's chicken. Woo! Next up, at UFC Des Moines, we have Cameron Smotherman taking on Serhiy Sidey. Cameron Smotherman is quite the fighter. Cameron Smotherman also had full-blown line movement. He was the favorite. He is now the underdog. He is 12-4 in his career, 4-1 in his last 5, and he is on a 4-fight win streak, taking on Serhiy Sidey, 11-2 in his career, 4-1 in his last 5. He's coming off that bad decision win over Garrett Armfield. Serhiy Sidey, long as shit. That's essentially his only skill set. But he is tall. He is a long striker. He can grapple as well. He's a somewhat powerful guy who, despite being so tall and so long, doesn't really use that range on his feet that well. He likes to plot forward. He keeps the jab in your face, and then he throws big when he sees the opening. He can be taken down. He can get his legs chopped. But even when he is taken down, he's got solid enough BJJ off his back to pull out the win. He is shockingly chinny, but he is very tough. He's coming off that close win over Garrett Armfield, where he landed fewer total strikes, fewer significant strikes, and was taken down 4 times and gave up 5 minutes of control. I said win. That's questionable. He's taking on Cameron Smotherman. Cameron Smotherman coming off the successful short notice step up and locked in his UFC contract. Style-wise, he's a patient and accurate striker. He's going to throw in combinations. He's not particularly busy, but he manages striking distance well. His takedown defense is okay, but if he ends up on the ground, he doesn't have a ton to offer. He's coming off that short notice win over Jake Hadley, where Jacob was there in person screaming at the referee, "You got to take a point. You got to take a point." And the referee did take a point. Ultimately, that point didn't really weigh on the results. Jake Hadley was far enough ahead in the scorecards that 1 point didn't make a difference. I am going to pick Cameron Smotherman here. I don't think Serhiy Sidey is very good. I think he's just tall. Like, that's his number one. Hey, what are you good at? Being tall. That's it. And if he can't be tall because somebody gets in his face and somebody Smothermans him, then he's not going to win the fight. So I think Cameron wins this fight. I think it was honestly, I that wasn't in the notes. That was just off the top of my head. I'm proud of that one.
All right,
it wasn't even a dad joke. It was just like a good, very clever, topical, poignant joke. And I do think Cameron wins. I think he closes the distance, kind of gets in his face. He's a little bit low volume, which is kind of a pain in the dick. He doesn't wrestle as much as he should. But I do think Cameron is the better actual fighter. And I don't think he's going to play on the outside and just let Serhiy be tall, which is essentially his only skill set. What do you think, Samuel?
Listen, I'm a certified Serhiy non-believer. Ever since his rematch against Ramon Tavares, I was on Tavares there. I was on Garrett Armfield, and I still wish the damn bookies would pay me my money because that was a goddamn robbery. Not only did Angelo point out the strike discrepancy, the takedown discrepancy, but also the damage. Serhiy was busted up. He was standing there, and they raised an arm, and he's sort of like bleeding from his face, all reddened up because he's quite a pale individual. He was clearly visibly busted up as well. One of the worst decisions around that time frame for sure. Garrett Armfield, robbed of a victory there. Cameron Smotherman here against Serhiy. A lot of people are trying to point out all the flaws of Smotherman here, like, oh, he can be chinny, he can have defensive flaws. Serhiy gets busted up. I mean, he got busted up against Ramon Tavares. He got busted up against Garrett Armfield. The 2 times that we've seen him against UFC-type competition, he's had his face smashed up. So why is Smotherman not going to do more of the same? Smotherman was able to hit Jake Hadley, who's a far more defensively responsible individual. And I think also people are so quick to give people credit for turning up and having a debut where they lose and show a good showing of himself. Cameron Smotherman turned up and won the fight on, I believe it was 3 or 4 days notice, flew somewhere around the world, turned up, handled business. I think he's going to turn up here, handle business. I like what this kid's about, and I think he even finds a finish here against Serhiy. Give me Cameron Smotherman to get it done.
Yeah, all right. So we're on the same side, and we're both on the dog here. Interesting to see where we align. Yeah, I'm glad we're on the same side. There's a lot of love on Serhiy side, which is why the line moved. He was a dog. He got full-blown bet to the favorite. And the money continues to come in. The odds are widening. They're not tightening. They are widening. Minus 136 as we sit today. I'm not entirely sure what that's all about, but okay, great. We'll take it. I haven't quite placed a bet there because, again, those odds are widening. And as long as those odds continue to widen, I'm going to sit tight and I'm going to wait. Once it seems to peak or start to rebound, then I may throw a bet on Cameron Smotherman before that value is gone. But right now he's plus 116. I think he absolutely gets it done. And if you do want to check out every single bet that we have, or even the bets that we don't have, become a premium member today. Go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. After you do that, download the app. And the second we place a bet, you will get a push notification saying, here's the bet we placed. Here are the odds. If you like the bet, great. Jump on it before the odds go south. If you don't like the bet, it's fine. You put your phone down, you go back to taking your shit. It's not a big deal. All the picks, all the bets, all the tools available on the website, in the app, WeWantPicks.com. Next up at UFC Des Moines, we have Montel Jackson taking on Daniel Marcos. Montel Jackson, 14-2 in his career. 5-0 in his last 5, riding back-to-back knockout wins. Taking on Daniel Marcos, 17-0. Actually, 17-0-1 in his career. He's 4-0-1 in his last 5, so he's undefeated. He's coming off that close decision win over Adrian Yanez, who some people could have argued should have gone the other way, or certainly Adrian let it slip through his fingers. Montel Jackson has made a name for himself with his power. He has giant one-punch knockout power. But the reality is he's a good wrestler. He added striking later in his career. He's well-rounded, a resume full of knockouts, a resume full of decisions, and full of submissions. His takedown accuracy is impressive at 71%. He averages almost 4 takedowns per fight. Oftentimes, people will talk about the power. But the reality is he's a high-level wrestler. At one point in time, was training at the Olympic training facility, hoping to compete at that level. He's coming off that knockout win over Damon Blackshear about 9 months ago. He's taking on Daniel Marcos. Daniel Marcos is an effective striker. He's got power. He's got accuracy. He does a nice job of stringing together combinations and marching forward. He'll throw 1-2s. He'll follow up with flying knees and elbows. His takedown defense is solid at 88%. He has 8 knockouts, 9 decisions. So we know how dangerous he is, but we also know how much cardio he has to push a pace and win a decision. He's coming off that razor-thin decision over Adrian Yanez, where he had the striking volume, but Yanez had the bigger moments. I think this is a great matchup. This matchup matters very much for this division and their trajectories. They're both sniffing at a spot inside of the top 10. It's also hard to pick and make these odds make sense because I think this fight should be a lot closer than these odds are implying. I don't think Montel Jackson is a 2-1 favorite here. You want to make him the favorite because he's got power and he can wrestle? Fine. But 2-1 seems wide to me. I think Daniel Marcos has all the tools. I think Daniel Marcos has shown us that he can make something happen even through adversity. And while Montel is fast and has the big power, Daniel is durable. Daniel has the cardio to go a full 15 minutes. And Daniel's the more versatile striker of the two. I think Daniel's versatility, I think Daniel's gas tank, I think Daniel, pushing into overdrive at times, I think he can go ahead and steal a round here, if not win this actual fight. I'm going to pick Daniel Marcos. Picks and bets are not the same thing, but I am also going to bet on Daniel Marcos. It wasn't available when I checked, but as soon as it pops up, the plus 3.5 on Daniel Marcos is going to make some sense. We just need him to win one single round. Montel hits hard. I don't think he's going to knock out Daniel. So then he has to hit hard over and over and over to win all 15 minutes. Daniel Marcos is the pick, but the important part here is I think he steals a round, and that's all we're going to need for that plus 3.5. What do you think, Samuel?
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're looking at with that bet. And I'm actually a believer of both these guys. And sometimes this happens, being a capper, you start to get invested in people's career trajectory. I've been a person that has bet on Daniel Marcos every single fight that he's had in the UFC so far. So I'm a Daniel Marcos believer. The Montel Jackson side, I bet him to win by knockout against him on Blackshare, and I was excited about that as well. And so when they came to fight here together, I kind of had mixed emotions about it. And that kind of led me to feel a certain way about each type of fighter. But I went back and I did my tape study, and, rewatching back Daniel Marcos, not only against Adrian Yanez, but also against Davey Grant, both those fights were kind of questionable moments where he started getting tagged up a little bit here. So it's not like Daniel Marcos is completely defensively sound. Yes, he has some good striking, and yes, primarily he is durable, but I think he's going to allow a lot of time on the feet for Montel Jackson to be able to land that big power, And so the only two times we've seen Montel Jackson struggle have been against people that are pressuring him, keeping him against the cage, or, chain wrestling against him. I don't think that Daniel Marcos is going to be doing any of those things. So in an open fight where they're going to be striking and Montel Jackson has the potential of grappling, I've got to go Montel Jackson. Odds aside, I think he's going to win this matchup. So I'm going Montel Jackson. And does he find the finish? I probably do lean towards no, because Daniel Marcos is shown to be able to get to their scorecards multiple times, even in tight fights. Despite Montel Jackson having that one-hitter quitter knockout power, I think that he probably wins this by decision. So, yeah.
Yeah, and listen, I get the love on the Montel Jackson side, and he usually fits the bill for somebody I'd be all over. High-level wrestler, power in his hands. I think the problem is he is going to be looking for that power. And I think he's going to be winging left hands, just winging, trying to chase that knockout, ultimately not going to find it. And I think Daniel's just going to be a little faster, not faster, a little cleaner, a little bit more accurate, and higher volume. Look at the strike differences. 5.9 significant strikes landed to 3.39. He's landing almost double the amount of strikes. And I think that volume may be the difference here. But let's go ahead and take a premium member. Kranz, you wanted to talk about this fight. What do you think?
What's going on, Bet Sam?
Hey, welcome, Kranz. How you doing,
I'm
buddy?
also on the Montel Jackson side. Just going to say it right off the rip. I kind of like the momentum, and as far as looking at these two and who's showing improvements, I think Montel is kind of the more improved fighter, and I do kind of see Daniel Marcos on some of those decisions where could have maybe gone either way. Angelo, I caught the last end of your breakdown there, but I do see what you're saying with him chasing that knockout. He's on the last two fights. I don't even think he's made it out of the first round, so that's pretty good for his knockout streak. Daniel Marcos, I don't think he's ever been knocked out. So he's pretty durable. Got to give him that. I think in the end, Montel Jackson will probably get a decision. But Angelo, I see where you're coming from. I think, Betsam, are you on the Montel Jackson?
Yeah, I'm on Montel Jackson, and it's KO or decision for me. I think if it's up to Daniel Marcos whether his durability is going to hold up or not, in my opinion. So we'll see about that.
Right.
All right.
I see that.
Kranz, any
Absolutely.
bets before I let you go on this fight?
Yeah, I got Montel Jackson. I'm not a high confidence in him, but I am confident enough to put him in kind of a not a confident parlay, not a safety parlay or a slam by any means, but I got him in a risky parlay with one other fighter. So, yeah, I think the odds are about right. I don't think that Marcos is a crazy big dog. I don't think Montel's a huge favorite, but yeah.
Great. Well, we appreciate you calling in, and call back next time we do one of these. See you.
All right. See you
See you later, Kranz.
later.
So I'm the only one on the Marco side. It is what it is. I've ridden this line before. We did it with Caio Fernandez against whatever that bum's name is just a few weeks ago. So I'm fine, and I will ride with my guys. I'm going to go Daniel Marcos, as I mentioned, plus 3.5 bet. We'll take a look, see what those odds are. As soon as I place it, you will get a push notification. Listen, if you're on the Montel Jackson side, then that $8,700 might be worth it, because either A, he could find a knockout, as he does, or B, he might resort to wrestling. The Daniel Marcos volume might be a problem for Montel Jackson. He might be bombing overhands, looking for a knockout, not get them, then lean on that high-level wrestling that he has. So if you're on his side, go for it. If you're on the Daniel Marcos side, which I am on, $7,500 is affordable, but I don't think he's not going to finish Montel. So it's literally just sheer volume to get it done. I'm going to have to look at his historical scorings to make a definitive decision, but I'm on the Marcos side. Bet Sam's on the Montel Jackson side. I'm going to split the difference with a bet by doing that plus 3.5. If you want to take a look at every single bet we have right now, if you want to see all the picks that we have right now, what the artificial intelligence says, if you want to check out every single tool, including the brand new tape index, you can just go to wewantpicks.com, click become a member. You'll unlock all of it instantly in one package. No tiers, no nonsense, no upsells. There's literally nothing else to buy. It is a $10 a month premium package. It includes every single thing on the website, wewantpicks.com. We do have a comment here. One sharp brother said, people have been pretty chill calling in. Is it normally like this? We have never done a show like this effectively. We have the Thursday call-in show, which is basically a free-for-all. People call in, they're lining up, saying God knows what, talking about God knows what. This is our normal structured Tuesday show without Jacob. Jacob's taking a little bit of a break, working on himself, hanging out, staying away from the camera, just taking a big, deep breath. So while he does that, Samuel and I are going to break down this card, and we're taking calls from the fans. So we have not done a show like this before. We're trying to incorporate the premium members. And yeah, everybody who has called in so far has been chill. There's a bunch of people in the queue. They don't have their cameras on. If your camera's not on, you're not coming on. I mean, pretty simple, straightforward concept there. Let's go ahead and break down this next fight. Next up, in the featured fight of the evening, we have Santiago Ponzinibbio taking on Daniel Rodriguez. This fight has a decent amount of line movement as well. Nothing dramatic, nothing spectacular, but this opened at dead even, and they let society decide. And society said Ponzinibbio is going to win this fight, and that's why the money is there, and that's why the movement went to his side. Santiago Ponzinibbio is 30-8. in his career. He is 2-3 in his last 5, but he is coming off that big knockout win over Carlson Harris that Jacob and I got to see live and in person. He's taking on Daniel Rodriguez, 18-5 in his career, 2-3 in his last 5, coming off that decision win over Alex Morono. And that's why this is an interesting matchup, because half the narrative is dude went to a split decision with Alex Morono. The other half is he's a high-level striker. He's a very good boxer. And yeah, he took that first round to figure out his rhythm, and then he won the next 2 rounds against Alex Morono. The reality is Daniel Rodriguez is a good boxer. He picks his shots well. Good enough takedown defense. Not much to offer in the grappling department if he ends up on the ground, though. His boxing is crisp. It is clean when he's not worried about takedowns. When he doesn't have to worry about what's coming that way, he finds his rhythm. He lets his hands going. But when he does worry about the takedowns, he can fade a little bit in fights because he's constantly working and worrying about what's coming his way. Overall, 90% a striker, but his striking is pretty good. He's coming off that decision win over Alex Morono, where it took him a full round to figure out Alex's striking cadence so that he can do what he needs to do. He's taking on Santiago Ponzinibbio. This guy's a good striker. He likes to stay outside of the pocket. His striking is clean, and he does a really good job managing range. He has a handful of big knockouts, but typically doesn't have a ton of raw power, and he uses volume and pressure well. He doesn't have much in the way of grappling offense, but he does have solid 71% takedown defense. He's coming off that massive knockout win over Carlson Harris at UFC Vegas 101. This should be a fun fight. Doesn't matter for the division in any capacity whatsoever, but it's 2 guys that are just going to bang it out on the feet. This is officially a slug fight. I don't expect it to be highly technical. I don't expect to see anything slick. I expect to see just good old-fashioned slugging around, bombing. And that's what we're going to get. And I think Daniel Rodriguez wins that fight because I do think he's a little cleaner and a little faster. Ponzinibbio probably has the bigger raw one-punch power, but Daniel Rodriguez is a pretty durable guy. And I think he's just going to land the cleaner shots, land the better shots, and land them more often. Daniel's going to be the pick here. I was hoping for a 1.5 round line. We were not blessed with that. It is 2.5, which the over is probably a reality. But anytime you have two guys at this age, 38 years old versus 38 years old, both strikers, could be a little dicey. I'm on the Rodriguez side. What do you think, Samuel?
Yeah, I mean, talking about the matchmaking here, both of them being 38 years old, getting paired up here, this is just a fun fight. This is like Matt Schnell and Jimmy Flick. Doesn't really matter. Neither of them are probably going to go on to do like amazing things as far as in the division status, but it's fun. And I enjoy when they start to put these people that have been around in the promotion for a while against one another rather than just, the constant narrative. Let's feed them to a 25-year-old prospect who's 13-1 with 12 finishes in a row. And so as much as it's easy to bet on them, like Zhang Minyang beating Anthony Smith's ass in front of his entire home crowd and then playing this beautiful montage for his retirement, this is a more appropriate matchup as far as having competitive fights. In this matchup here, I think it's going to be either, if we're talking specifically finishes, Daniel Rodriguez early, because we've seen Santiago Ponzinibbio multiple times get caught early in fights. And yes, he finds ways to fight through it. But if that happens, he's getting older. He did take a lot of damage, even in his victory against Carlston Harris last time out. So the chin is going to be questionable here. He's been rocked multiple times. He's been put away before. D-Rod does have the more crisp hands, especially the jab here. So I think he's going to get the jab going and be able to frustrate Santiago Ponzinibbio. But out of the two of them, if you look in the past, you can see Santiago Ponzinibbio does have some round 3 victories, some come from behind performances. We don't really see that out of D-Rod. In fights that he's losing, he simply falls behind. Santiago Ponzinibbio does have that rabbit out of the hat trick. He's able to, bring it back with the one-shot power, sit down on a stool in between rounds 2 and 3, bleeding and still think to himself, I can go out there and win this fight. And so when the line had Santiago Ponzinibbio as a dog there, I think he was the pick. Now that D-Rod's the dog here, I think Daniel Rodriguez's decision is probably the play. I don't expect him to put away Santiago Ponzinibbio, but I do think that he gets the jab going. So that's where I'm at with this one. For who I'm cheering for, though, Ponzinibbio. I hope he gets it.
Why?
Done. I just like him more.
Yeah, he seems like a likable guy. He's also the Spanish commentator, so he is in it. You mentioned the Anthony Smith. He's in a somewhat similar situation where he is squarely focused on the second part of his career. That's the commentating and the desk work, and he's doing all that for the Spanish broadcast. And I think he's doing it really well. Obviously, he's still going to fight. He can still fight. He just got to win. You mentioned he has the ability to come from behind. He did that in his last fight. He was getting pieced up. Carlston Harris was landing big and had Santanibbio in a little bit of trouble, and then he was able to just find that big punch. Carlston Harris was also old as shit. So, to your point, it's a valid point for a guy that's not like highly intelligent, that doesn't make a lot of good points. It is a valid point that UFC is typically just railroading your career, but they seem to be giving Ponzinibbio appropriate matchups given his age. But we'll see how this goes. I am on the Rodriguez side. DraftKings Fantasy, probably fade in both sides of this. Santiago might be the only side that really makes sense because Daniel Rodriguez, while he has the cleaner boxing, the better boxing, I don't know if he's going to knock out Ponzinibbio. And if he doesn't, this is just strikes. And I don't think it's going to be enough strikes to be putting up, 90 to 100 points in a win. I'm going to have to dig into some of his other fights where he won, including his last one, to see how many points did he put up in a back and forth sort of stand-up heater. We'll see where that goes. Daniel Rodriguez is my pick. Plus 110 as it sits today. If you do want to check out every single pick, every single bet, every single tool, our round line leans. We give you every single round line on the card, and we tell you if we like the over or the under for those round lines. We have another tool called the Prop Hunter. The Prop Hunter is going to give you all the specific data points you need while finding prop bets. You're going to see how many takedowns a fighter averages, how many they average in the UFC versus out of the UFC. You're going to see what their average fight time is. You're going to see wins, losses. You're going to see strikes landed versus strikes absorbed. And all that data is right there lined up with the opponents ready to go so that when you go to your sports book and your sports book sets a significant strike line or a takedown line or a round line, when Prize Picks does it or Underdog does it, you have all that data right there to help you find the spots. Every single thing I mentioned, all the things I haven't mentioned, WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top at $10 to unlock all of it. Next up, at UFC Des Moines, we have the co-main event of the evening, and this is the fight I'm looking forward to the most. Of every fight on the card, this one to me is the most important because we're going to find out how good Bo Nickal actually is or is not. This is his first fight with actual high-level competition. And he is early in his career. He's only 7-0, so it's not as if he should have been fighting absolute world beaters. But he is now quite literally fighting a multiple division world champion in Reinier de Reinier. Reinier de Reinier, 19-2 in his career, 3-2 in his last 5. He's riding that 3-fight win streak. He's taken on wrestling standout Bo Nickal, undefeated in his early career. And he's coming off that decision win over Paul Craig, where he let his hands go. Reinier de Reinier is a former, as I mentioned, 2-division world champion in ONE FC. Overall, he's a solid grappler. The takedowns are good. He's got great submissions. He's a very tall guy for this division. He uses that length well, both standing and on the ground. He will strike. It's not very clean, but he is long and he is big and he throws pretty heavy. He definitely thrives on the ground. Seems to be a bit out of sorts if fights go a little too long on the feet. He's coming off that quick win over Kevin Holland, where he also got a takedown insanely quick and made it happen. He's taking on Bo Nickal, big-time wrestling standout, multiple Division I national championships. He's got world champion medals in there as well. He obviously is an incredible wrestler. He transitioned to MMA, and he's taken the wrestling skills with him. He's relied on him in every single one of his fights except his last. He's continuing to evolve, and we saw that in his fight against Paul Craig. He had a matchup against somebody who's not dangerous on the feet, is dangerous on the ground. He said, you know what? Let me use my hands. And he won a 30-27, hands only. And while they weren't Roy Jones Jr.'s hands, they were pretty good. And you need those fights to evolve. You need those fights to figure out if you have hands or not, to actually test them. It doesn't matter what you do in training if you never get to throw a punch in a fight. So now we've seen Bo Nickal striking. Was it amazing? No. But it is important. This fight is going to be weird. Last week, we had a premium member call in. That premium member is actually sitting here right now waiting to talk about the main event. And he gave me a hard time saying, you favor wrestlers too much. He had shitty example after shitty example, made no salient points whatsoever, and that's fine. It's very hard to debate the big man. I speak articulately. I can make a very clear point, and I can move things along the way that I need to move them along. So while this absolute clown show buffoon, who will be on the stream in a few minutes to break down the main event, tried to tell me I favor wrestlers too much, I'll say, you know what? I kind of agree. I do tend to favor wrestlers. And I do it for a reason, because wrestlers can control where the fight goes. And this matchup will come down entirely to who can control where this fight goes. If Reinier ends up on top, Bo Nickal is frankly fucked. Straight up fucked. He is not going to fight well off of his back. If Bo Nickal ends up on top, he should be fine. But Reinier is a very good grappler. He was doing all sorts of weird, dumb shit against his Gerald Meerschaert off his back. So I'm going to pick Bo Nickal here because Bo Nickal is an incredibly high-level athlete who is training at American Top Team with high-level people getting high-level training. Bo Nickal's the one who, in theory, can control exactly where this fight goes. The thing that concerns me, though, is that Reinier is huge, and Reinier has such good grappling, not jiu-jitsu nerd grappling like Paul Craig, but real grappling. If Renier's big ass somehow gets a takedown and ends up on top, that would probably be a problem for Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal's the pick. I'm a little scaredy cat here, so no bets from me. What do you think, Samuel?
You guys have Boxing Day in America?
No, we're not loser dorks that need a fake day to box things up and return them to the store.
You don't? Okay. Well, Boxing Day here in New Zealand is the day after Christmas where everything goes on sale.
Shit.
Right? Everything goes on sale. We're getting Bo Nickal on Boxing Day right here. Bo Nickal is the cheapest price he has ever been in any of his matchups. He's been minus 1,000, minus 2,000. And while we've all sat here and said these prices are terrible, he hasn't let anyone down, hasn't lost a fight. I don't even think he's lost a round to this point. So, Bo Nickal, he is his own harshest critic as well. As much as the fans were sitting there and going, oh, Bo Nickal, you had a terrible performance. As soon as he defeated Cody Brundage, and while Brundage, yes, might not be the world's best person, but Cody Brundage never looked for a second like he was winning that fight.
What?
And in that matchup,
Cody Brundage threw Bo Nickal against the cage from across the octagon.
and then
Launched
proceeded
his
to
ass.
lose 3 seconds later. Anyway,
Okay, but there was moments where he won the fight, like when he was launching Bo Nickal across the cage with an
Bo
underhook.
Nickal was such an enormous favorite that one moment made everyone stop and go, wow, now we've got Bo Nickal minus 300 against Reinier the Ritter, whose striking looks absolutely absurd. The fact that he was a 2-division champion in any organization is questionable with how poor his striking looked. Against Gerald Miesha, he threw himself to the ground. You go back, he tries to, I don't know, you're a lifelong grappler. What would you say that takedown attempt that he threw against Gerald Miesha?
I said it after that fight. I railroaded it. It felt like Reinier was playing games, like literally was playing games, putting himself, he was treating it like a grappling match, not an MMA fight. I agree with you. Listen, I picked Bo Nickal. I'm just highlighting how this could be somewhat problematic. Renier's listed at 6 foot. He's going to be bigger than Bo Nickal. That height is not.
I think that stat's incorrect. I think Reinier the Ritter is 6'3" or 6'4", and that's something I wanted to talk about as well. Bo Nickal just got 3 rounds in against Paul Craig, who is a similar frame to Reinier the Ritter. So he's been working against that length. He's been working against Paul Craig, who, for everyone talking about how bad Paul Craig's striking is, go back and watch Reinier the Ritter against Gerald Miesha. This dude was getting tagged up by GM3. Bo Nickal's speed in the striking is going to be better. His footwork is going to be better. His overhands, people going, he's bombing overhands. That's all he's going to need against Reinier the Ritter. If he uses footwork, bombs the overhand, and gets back out, that he's going to either knock him out or win a fight by unanimous decision. And if he chooses to wrestle and gets on top, as long as he puts his head in close there and stays in on top of Reinier the Ritter, he should be able to find to ride out position, ride out rounds, and win that way as well. I think Bo Nickal has all of the upside outside of the pure submission threat. And so I'm going Bo Nickal 3-1. Seems more than fair enough here. And he is the slam of the week. So, yeah.
All right. There you go. Bosef Nickal. Bet Sam slammed his fist down. Bernie, you want to hop on, talk about this fight? You fucking 16-year-old weirdo. All right. We have 16-year-old. He's not actually 16. He swears to God and he's an adult man. Bernie, what do you, your weird accent and your headset think about this fight?
Just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay?
Yeah.
We don't understand a fucking word you're saying, but we can hear you.
Okay. I think, obviously, Angelo, you think Bo Nickal can mess up this. You're not as confident in this fight as Sam is. Sam has this as his slam of the week, which is a great percentage. I think Bo Nickal, Reinier the Ritter won't be able to take him down. I think Reinier the Ritter has nothing for Bo Nickal on his feet. I think Bo Nickal, once he's on top of Reinier the Ritter, he will be okay. I completely agree with you. If Reinier the Ritter doesn't end up on top of Bo Nickal, that could be problematic, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Bo Nickal's going to have the better cardio. I think if it's a close fight, they're going to give the rounds to Bo Nickal. I think Bo Nickal it's minus 300 at the moment, but if you're on it early, like me, I got it at minus 200, $1.50. He was $1.40 up until recently, minus 250. I think he's an absolute lock in the situation. I think get on Bo Nickal while they can, because once he has a good performance at this price, it's never going to be this affordable again. And I personally have a 4-leg parlay that had Damon Blackshear, Zhang Mingyang, Bilal and Bo Nickal. So just had Bilal and Bo Nickal to go, and it was plus 200. And that's going to come true. And I think
only plus 200.
It's plus 200 because Bo Nickal was $1.50. Bilal was Bo Nickal was minus 200. Bilal was minus 250, and then Damon and Zhang Bingyang were both like minus 500. Mm-hmm. But it's still 5 units to return 10 units of profit. And I think Bo Nickal and Bilal should come true,
They should. I agree. They should. That's why I don't want people to confuse my hesitation with a pick. I'm picking Bo Nickal. Renier's big as shit. Reinier is a very good, dangerous grappler. You guys keep talking about Paul Craig. But Paul Craig sucks. He sucks.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
I think Rodolfo Bolanos can knock his ass out in 2 weeks' time.
He probably could. Reinier the Ritter doesn't suck. He lost his belts in ONE FC to giant, heavy-handed strikers who he couldn't take down.
I think Reinier the Ritter sucks, to be honest with you, bro. I think the fact that he was a double champion in another company shows the quality of that company. A guy with his level of skill set, if this guy can't grapple you, he's useless.
Well, I don't disagree, but what happens if Reinier somehow ends up on top? Defending a takedown is a lot different than getting one. What happened?
You say somehow.
Okay. So if he ends up on top, he gets a takedown. What
But
happens?
I'm guarantee you, he's not going to take down Bo Nickal.
He might not. Listen, I'm picking Bo Nickal again. It's just a little.
But
Little
yeah, I
pause of
understand. Yeah, but I'm just more on the Sam side here, as I think I'm very confident enough in in Bo Nickal that I think he's slam worthy, because I don't think you're ever going to get him with these odds again once he proves what he can do at these odds.
He is a very affordable price point right now, especially compared to what he's been. But that is a direct reflection of the level of competition.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
not
Yeah,
for no. It's not for no reason. It's not an accident. It's not we
I
stumbled upon a
think
secret.
I'm very confident though he's going to shut down that price tag, and we're not going to see him with this price tag probably until he hits the top 7, top 8, and then he's going to get fucking probably rolled. No,
He doesn't have the skill sets to compete at that level. I agree.
No. Like you were talking earlier in the stream about Bo Nickal and Hamza wrestling. Him himself seems very confident if he fights Hamza. Hamza submits him 2 rounds max.
Yeah, well, if Hamzat gets an early a lot of wrestling comes down to who shoots first. Not on a mat. On a mat where the only thing you're doing is wrestling, it's very different, right? There's scrambles but in an octagon, in a fist fight where you're worrying about submissions, you're worrying about hands and knees and kicks and all those things, it many times comes down to who shoots first. And if Bo Nickal comes out with my wrestling is so good, he's not going to take me down, the same strategy he had against Paul Craig, we could have a problem here because Reinier could potentially, he's big as shit. He's big.
Oh, he is one big motherfucker. He is.
Yeah.
He is big. Wasn't he a heavyweight in one of the other companies, or a light heavyweight in one of those other belts?
He was a two division champion. He was the middleweight champion in the light heavy. And he has 2 losses. He lost to one guy twice.
And that guy's a beast. And on the source as well. The guy's a bit of a beast.
So he lost to an absolute giant savage who he couldn't take down 2 times. And now it's like, this guy sucks.
He's going to lose to this ginger cunt though next. I'm telling you.
All right, well, listen. Thanks for hopping on, Bernie. Any last words?
Thanks, Bernie.
Last weekend before I left, I gave us Vidal Riley. It was a boxing bet. He was $1.60. He absolutely sent it home. This week, I'm giving you Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez in a 2-leg parlay. Lock it in, boys. It's not going to disappoint.
All right. Thank you, Bernie, with the boxing parlay. We appreciate you, man. Call in next time. We'll see you. Bernie always shows up with that insane accent and the energy. And if you want to show up and support the boys, go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. You'll unlock everything you could ever want, need, or imagine. It's not just some, please donate. It is a go sign up for the greatest offering this space has ever seen. That is a literal objective fact. I had people the other day in the Discord saying, hey, Ange, this guy said he's better than you. And I said, who the hell is this guy? And they're like, and why is he talking about me? And they said, well, he's trying to charge $20 for his service. And people were not spamming, but lots of people in the chat were saying, how are you charging $20 when Angelo charges 10? And he's like, well, but I'm good. I'm better. And then people were like, well, do you have tools? Well, no. Do you have DraftKings stuff? No. Well, do you have anything for fit? No. So what do you have? A list of 4 bets and you're charging $20? That's what the fuck you have, you loser turd. What we are building cannot be touched. You could hate me because I'm loud, aggressive, Ange, and that bothers people. Fine. But you got to love the boys. What Jacob's done for you guys, what Bet Sam's done for you guys, what Artem's done for you guys, behind the scenes, what Josh the Web guy has done for you guys. It's $10. Quite literally the greatest offer in this space. And I put this challenge out from time to time. I say, find a better value. You go find a better value, and I'll give it to you for free. Literally, nobody's ever done it. 2 people have tried. One person sent me something that was like, this guy charges $5. It was 5 bets on a Patreon. That's not remotely close. We have tools. And then somebody sent some other kid. It was $8 on a Patreon. That gentleman had literally retired 2 months earlier. Retire. Done. Doesn't post shit. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Stop being cheap nerd weirdos. We do have a $4.99 super chat from Ricky Mad. They better give Jeremy Stevens a tribute like they did Smith. That's not fucking happened. Stevens started in 2007 versus Din Thomas to Gamrot Aldo. What do you guys think? Listen, I think Jeremy Stevens is a staple. Some people have made a larger impact on the sport. And while Anthony Smith isn't an all-timer, he did fight for a title. He did fight some of the best and get some good wins. Jeremy Stephens has been here. He's fought everybody. He's on the wrong side of one of the most famous quotes in the history of the sport, quite literally. I don't know what's a more famous quote other than send location. Or are you impressed by my performance? I'm not impressed by your performance. Those three quotes are the best quotes in the history of MMA. So Anthony Smith getting clowned is on that list. Or Jeremy Stephens is getting clowned on that list. But I appreciate the super chat, but I don't think he gets a tribute. I don't think he's earned a tribute.
In answer to that super chat there, pop back up there for a second. I forgot the fuck what I was going to say. The tribute, I just wanted to ask you, Angelo, you've seen more tributes than me watching the sport for 30 years there. The Anthony Smith tribute, I think there was like top 2 tributes that I've seen,
it was great
to retiring fighters. The number one for me was Robbie Lawler. That one almost had me in tears.
Oh,
no, Robbie Lawler's one had me absolutely. I don't know. Just I think they had a quote from him, against Rory McDonald too, where he says, "I'm going to keep coming forward," and that's what I do. And he was standing there after knocking out Nico Price. I think it was. That was probably the
I was there in person. So my wife took it was a surprise for my birthday. My birthday's in the beginning of June. International Fight Week's at the end of June. So surprise my birthday, I'm taking you to Vegas. So we went there. We were there in person. People were crying. People were literally crying from the tribute, which happened after this spectacular knockout as an underdog in a retirement fight. Like the stars aligned. That was one of the most impactful moments I've seen like in the sport, because everybody loves Robbie Lawler. There's not a single person that doesn't like him. Former world champion, always comes on, puts on a show. He smoked this kid, wasn't supposed to do it, and then they played that tribute. So that one was probably the best I've ever seen. And Anthony Smith was up there, top 2 for sure. And the problem with a lot of these tributes and all of those situations is you don't always know when somebody's going to retire. And I heard Josh Thompson talk about it, where he talked about leading up to the Anthony Smith fight. And the questions were, going into a retirement fight, do you try harder? Do you not try at all? It's your last fight. And Josh was like, honestly, I don't know, because I didn't have that luxury. I didn't know my last fight was going to be my last fight. So the people who do know it's going to be their last fight, and those people who announce it, this is my last fight, the UFC can prepare. They can have stuff ready. And I think a lot of these fighters, it would do them some good to establish a final fight and do all of that. So I loved the Anthony Smith tribute. People were like making fun of it, that there wasn't enough highlights and he didn't really do much. But Anthony Smith is a guy that has entertained us for quite a bit. They relied on him a lot during COVID. He did a lot of good things. He fought for a title. He took it like a man. He could have won the title off a foul, and he didn't. He's on the desk doing stuff. I think he deserved a proper send-off. They gave him a proper send-off, and I thought they did a great job with it.
Yeah.
Next up, at UFC Des Moines, we have the main event of the evening. We have Corey Sandhagen taking on Deiveson Figueiredo. Corey Sandhagen, 17-5 in his career, 3-2 in his last 5. He's coming off that decision loss to Umar Nurmagomedov. He's taking on Deiveson Figueiredo at 24-4. He is 3-2 in his last 5. He's coming off that first loss at 135 pounds. Corey Sandhagen's a guy we're very familiar with at this point in time. Find that picture if you can, Sam. He's a guy we're very familiar with at this point in time. He's a very active striker. He's landing a little more than 5 significant strikes per minute. He's got some deceiving power, lots of it because of the weird angles he throws things at. And he obviously has incredible technique. He's fluid. He's fast. He's very good with combinations and the variety in what he throws. He'll throw punches, kicks, elbows, knees. He'll throw them from weird angles. He'll throw them while stepping in or stepping out. He mixes up where they land. He's athletic. He's tough. He ties it all out with solid BJJ. Corey is a hard night out for pretty much anyone, including Umar Nurmagomedov, where he was taken down 5 times, but he defended 8 takedowns. He's taken on Deiveson Figueiredo, affectionately known as Figgy, a former flyweight world champion who moved up to bantamweight much later in his career. Since moving up to bantamweight, we've seen cardio improvements as much as we could.
Look at that.
That's a picture of Deiveson Figueiredo right now.
That's Deiveson Figueiredo. Wait, and then there's a second one as well. There's a This is him here. This is the one that really got people like kind of. He's sitting in this chair here, and he just there's people saying he looks like my Latino uncle.
That's just a bad fitting shirt.
Yeah.
That's just an oversized. You know what my wife tells me that all the time. She was like, you wear some of your shirts too big, and they make you look bigger than you are.
Yeah, but you know,
that's what
looks
you have there.
Overly thick here, right? In this one here in particular,
he doesn't look like that's a good dad bod, is what that is. He doesn't look like fat or sloppy, but he also doesn't look like he's a professional fighter who's about to fight.
He doesn't look like he's about to make the bantamweight limit, is I think what people are pointing out. But it could be old footage. I don't know. It's been brought to my attention just recently. But yeah.
Well, what we've seen since he moved up to 135 pounds from 125 pounds are the wrestling improvements. He's been leaning on it quite a bit. He has 9 takedowns in his last 4 fights, and that's more than his previous 7 fights combined. He's a well-rounded guy. He is dangerous everywhere. He has power in his hands, well-timed takedowns, a BJJ black belt, and there is some dog in him. Later in his career, we saw a couple of quitting moments, but everybody kind of chalked that up to the weight cut. He's coming off that decision loss to Petr Yan. We had a couple of takedowns, but he really just could not hang in the striking. I think Figgy has looked very good at 135 pounds, including his most recent fight, which is a loss. But a lot of that has to do with the wrestling and some of the cardio improvements. I don't think that is going to matter here. I don't think he's going to have the takedowns he needs or the success striking. So I think this is a very straightforward Corey Sandhagen win. I think Corey's just too big, too fast, too clean, too awkward for Figgy to have any real success. And Corey might even work in a bunch of his own takedowns. He's sitting at a very healthy minus 480 right now. But once you translate that to probability, I think it's spot on. And I'm not surprised if this takes off a little more and continues to widen. Corey Sandhagen is the pick, and I'm very confident in that. What do you think, Samuel?
First off, when I saw the line on this fight, I was absolutely pissed because I wanted to pick Corey Sandhagen above Bo Nickal as Slam of the Week here. I was hoping that this was going to be, a $1.38, $1.40 mark, and I could really hammer the Corey Sandhagen mark there. And the reason being is that Corey Sandhagen is not afraid to be boring. While he has some highlight reel finishes, most notably the one over Frankie Edgar, but everybody added Frankie Edgar to the highlight reel at the end of their career, sadly. But, Davison Figueiredo, he improved his grappling, went and trained with Henry Cejudo for one of the camps against, I believe it was Brandon Moreno, and really did improve his overall skill set and in particular his takedowns. But then there was some favorable matchmaking that he had, which really made that shine. Rob Font notoriously has struggled with the takedown defense. So against Davison Figueiredo, looked that way. But Corey Sandhagen has very crafty striking. He has length. He's able to work in takedowns of his own. His top control is one of the underrated aspects of his game. And while he lost to Umar Nurmagomedov, Umar was fighting against Merab Dvalishvili and was
putting Merab's ass the first 2 rounds and he broke his hand.
And then it started to fall apart, but he still didn't get finished. He still put up a good fight. And if he didn't break his hand, he might be the world champion right now and an uncontested one at that. So we don't know just how good Umar Nurmagomedov is against the rest of the slate. Yes, Merab beat him. Merab is an absolute cardio monster, and it was his cardio that won him that fight. It wasn't his outright wrestling. It wasn't his striking or anything like that. So Corey Sandhagen here against Davison Figueiredo. The line makes sense, and that makes me sad because I wanted to hammer it. But Corey Sandhagen is going to be the pick because he doesn't – if he goes into this fight and he has a striking advantage, he'll get back to it. If he goes in and he says, I can push Davison Figueiredo against the fence for 5 whole rounds, he will do that. Corey Sandhagen is not above being boring. He will not give a damn about if the crowd boos him or anything like that. He will do what it takes to win. He's a complete mixed martial artist, and I like Corey Sandhagen as well. So Corey Sandhagen is going to be my final pick for this breakdown.
Yep, I'm with you. We're on the Corey Sandhagen side together. AV, if you want to hop in, give us your breakdown. Sit down, you weirdo. Here's AV. I'm going to throw him on the camera. He's running around his kitchen like an absolute psychopath. You're on mute, you loony bin. Who do you think wins this fight?
I'm going to have to go towards Sandhagen on this one. I do think Figgy has a good chance. I have no idea how he got a 50-45 against Yan. I mean, how they gave Yan 50-45 against him.
Yeah, it was closer than that for sure.
And he dropped him too.
Yeah.
But Figgy, even in his old age, he's like 37, he still has power through 5 rounds. He doesn't give up. He's still, the submission threat is still there. He's still strong and powerful. I mean, he's got all the tools to beat Sandhagen, but I think Sandhagen's going to dance around and, probably win a decision. I mean, yeah, that's how I see it going. But Figgy's got a good chance. I think the plus 5.5 when I saw it on Bet Online, it was like plus 215 to something. So I was like, yeah.
So plus 3.5 is super clean. You need 1 round. Plus 5.5, it's like 2 rounds on all the scorecards, and then like a third round on 2 rounds on all the scorecards. Yeah, and a third round on like 1 score, something weird like that. You think Davison can lose lose 2 rounds, or how close do you think this is?
I think Davison, he's a pretty fast starter. I think he can come out, especially in the first 2 rounds, just explode, have Sandhagen backing up, try to get off the grappling and whatnot. And, just kind of like bully. But I think Sandhagen, since it's a 5-rounder, he'll pace himself and then he'll build into the fight slowly. I was pretty disappointed in his Umar performance. I think he could have won that one, but it's like he would shut down like the first to the 3rd round. He would shut down the grappling. But then after that, he would just stand on the outside and just switch stance and just dance. He wouldn't throw any strikes. So I think he can do the same thing here. And I think it's going to be even easier to hear, because I was actually a Umar denier. But when I saw him against Merab for the title, I was like, yeah, Umar's definitely S tier. And I think with Umar, he's faster, because he's younger, he's faster, better footwork. I think Figgy will, plant his feet and throw. And for someone like Sandhagen, he'll just light him up and dance around. And then, he'll probably get like a 49, 46, 48, 47 decision. I don't see him finishing Figgy. Figgy's just too tough.
Yeah, I don't think this. I think this is a 5-round fight. I don't think there's a finish here. I think it goes to a decision. I think Corey has a little more success because while Davison had some success against Petr Yan is insanely hittable. Where Corey Sandhagen moves like crazy, and while Petr is probably the better pure striker, Corey is far more mobile, far more awkward, and I think he's a little harder to hit. This definitely an interesting fight. That plus 5.5. Will be interesting. There's a guy in the chat that doesn't know how math works. It's not just 2 rounds. I actually have a spreadsheet. Let me pull it up. Or I don't know how I'm going to talk and do the spreadsheet at the same time, but I have a spreadsheet that does the math on the 5.5 and the 3.5 so that it's all broken out. It's not just 2 rounds. It's a little beyond that, but certainly if it's a somewhat close fight, then that'll make sense, especially at that plus 200 something.
Yeah.
Any last words for us?
Nothing. I just wanted to say, Bet Sam, you're a freaking maniac, dude. I don't know how the fuck your brain works, dude. You just figure out these just freaking props and just these fight. Like I really thought Dominic Reyes was gonna get destroyed, like subbed or TKO'd in round 2, but he just
and Big Ange.
Yeah, man. Like you, and then also the plus, what was it, 1,400 KO for Edwards?
Jocelyn Edwards, yeah.
Yeah, that was freaking ridiculous. I wish I would have told it, but I was like, nah, it's just gonna be a stink fest. It's gonna be a pat until a 30-27. But yeah, you caught that shit, man. So I'll pretty much be telling all your bets going forward, basically.
Actually, I'm going to say to the chat here about a bit that I'm pissed is off of next week's slate. The matchup was Zhang Young Lee taking on, what's his name? Gavin Tucker. And Gavin Tucker has lost 2 fights in 5 years, hasn't had a win in 5 years, was taking on a guy with a 6.5 reach advantage. It was only $1.40. I was ready to throw, $1,000 on that, if not more. And then I just saw it on Tapology. That fight has been pulled off. So
that fight just dropped for sure.
Yeah,
disgusting. Got KO'd for sure, man. He's not.
I was already rubbing my hands together for that one. I was excited, but it is what it is.
Well, we appreciate you, AV. Thanks for hopping on. We'll talk to you soon. Bet Sam and I on the same side. AV's on the same side. I imagine most of the community is as well. It's going to be an interesting fight. I don't think it's going to be a very competitive fight, but I am curious to see what Corey looks like. He was this close to earning a title shot, didn't go his way in the Umar fight. I think he was frozen by the idea of high-level wrestling coming his way, but frankly, that didn't really pan out. And now here he is, a much more favorable matchup against a much older gentleman. He can use all of his skills. He can be a little more free. I don't think he's going to be worried about the takedowns. I think he kind of shows off here, and he sort of needs to. The bantamweight division is a little weird right now because you don't have any clear contenders. Umar broke his hand. Once he heals up, you could argue that maybe he gets a rematch or something like that. But the problem is he lost those last 3 rounds pretty convincingly. Who's fucking Afro turd?
AV.
No, you asshole. The former world bantamweight champion.
You mean-
No,
Aljamain
God
Sterling.
damn it.
Aljamain Sterling.
No, holy shit.
Who are you talking about?
Who is Merab? Sean O'Malley, for fuck's sake.
Sean O'Malley.
Sean O'Malley. Merab's fighting Sean O'Malley. I think he smokes him. Aljamain Sterling is no longer in that weight class. So we don't have a very clear contender. Assuming Merab smokes O'Malley again, who the hell is he supposed to fight next? So we need Corey Sandhagen to have a dominant performance here so that he can put himself in line for the next title shot. Because without that, this division's kind of a mess and they don't know who is going to earn the next one. We got somebody out with a broken hand who very clearly lost. Like, there's a lot going on in this division. We need Corey Sandhagen to have a very clear, dominant decision. Petr Yan didn't earn it with just one win over an old man. So we'll see how this all plays out. Rooting for Corey. We're both picking Corey. We're both betting on Corey. But if you want to check out every single pick and bet that we have, go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. It is only $10 for an entire month. We did get this comment, Sam. It said those pictures are old. The caption literally says they're throwback. So
Maybe
Sam came on here, spread a whole bunch of fake news, putting out crazy narratives that I'm going to see posted elsewhere because 20,000 people watch this video. And not everybody's going to see this short part where I was pointing out that it was fake. So
hey, you told me that the last narrative I gave you, Marvin Vettori was fake, but it didn't matter. It didn't impact the result. I was still right on the pick. So we'll see.
About what?
The Marvin Vettori's injury not healing properly.
Yeah, that was fake as shit too. He said also, Sam was spreading fake news about Marvin Schultz.
Wasn't fake.
Fake.
And you were talking about Marvin Vettori and multiple bad takes with Josh Thompson. Marvin Vettori's brother just died recently in a house fire, so I don't think he's fighting anytime soon. He's quite a family man, so I don't think he'll be fighting anytime soon. Just for future bad take's sake in the middleweight division.
Jesus Christ. Way to bring down the room, Sam. But we'll bring the room back up. We'll bring the room back up with a promo. You guys love the yapping. And let me yap to you about the app that we have. The app is 100% free. Just search We Want Picks in the App Store. Download that app. Make sure notifications are turned on, and you will be good to go. You'll get push notifications anytime a bet is placed, fantasy lineup is made, and all the other things happen. Inside the app, you'll have access to pretty much every single tool. Some of them you'll have to use the mobile browser for or a full-blown desktop browser, but all of those tools include everything you can ever need heading into a fight week. The Tape Index, which gives you a full fight library. You click the little play button, video pops up, you can watch tape. Do your research on any fighter, on any card. This is built out for the future. You're going to get the DraftKings Optimizer. This not only does everything you expect an optimizer to do, but it also has a brand new, the industry first beginner mode, which will just ask you a series of high-level questions and guide you instead of expecting you to know how to use all this complicated shit. We have a fight simulator that will simulate fights 100,000 times. It uses historical striking stats, historical grappling stats, implied probability. It simulates those fights 100,000 times and then spits out those results that you can use for DraftKings Fantasy. You can use for prop bets, anything you could want or need. The data analyzer, full suite of data and insight that you can add filters to. You can stack those filters. You can deep dive any fighter, all of their stats, and you can even work your way through them and their opponent side by side. We have a tool called the line movement tracker. This is going to give you the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every fighter on every card. You're going to get a prop hunter. This is a curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. And you're going to get this absolute doofus with the screaming fist. You're going to get Artem, who has had a glow up. I need a better picture. And the artificial intelligence. Jacob's bets and picks are also on the website. Go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member, unlock all of it right now. Everything I just mentioned is $10. If there is somebody out there, if you saw a video, or if you go to a website and they're like, unlock our UFC, proven UFC bets, take a look at what that price is. Take a look at what you get for that price. Go to the website and tell me if it compares. In no world do we not have the greatest value in this space. Thanks for the watch, guys. Thanks for the support. Mixed it up today with a little bit of a different format. Thank you, Bet Sam, being the co-host today. Thank you for the premium members who called in, actually turned their cameras on, made it on the stream, and let me know if you like this format, meaning the format of premium members popping on to do a quick breakdown of their thoughts of the fights. Appreciate all of you. Sammy, any words for the people?
Thank you for having me on, Angelo. If you ever need me on here again, just let me know. And to the people, thanks for tuning in. And, we're going to have another absolute banging week here at the We Want Picks, another profitable week. And, looking forward to it. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Wouldn't do it without you guys,
All right. Well, appreciate you all. Appreciate you, Sammy. And we'll see you guys later this week for the rest of the content.